thing.
All right. The recording is in progress, and this is Mike's movie podcast featuring Evan with special guest Adam, and we are going to be discussing 3 motion pictures today. We've done double features before. Double features have been done. Johnny Mnemonic and Predator 2. Heard about it? We have. We've done double features. Triple features before, not like this. What are we talking about today? Joker, Folie, Deux. Also, talking about the substance. Also, talking about Megalopolis. So 3 movies that we're talking about here today. And I was thinking, because there's a lot to discuss with each of the movies, I'm not entirely sure where to begin. So I'm going to punt that decision and just kind of open it up for the group and see where the discussion takes us.
I want to say that we should have had more time, but Evan fucked up and got a haircut. And I want to just throw out there, separate from that, that's fine. I just want to say, and I've probably done this bit before, as a guy that cuts his own hair, I kind of think paying to cut a cis hetero man cutting their hair kind of gay. What are you looking so good for? Why do you got to have such a pro haircut? Who are you showing off for? What are you having a photo shoot coming up?
So I'm glad you brought this up because this is an important part of my life and a key distinction between me and you. Where to begin? Getting a really good getting a really good like treatment at a salon is a great luxury. So when I say I'm getting a haircut, 20% of the activity is my hair being cut. I'm getting
so what you're saying is you like paying women to touch you. That's the part you like?
Exactly. And I'm not, and unlike you, I'm not gonna lie about it. Because you would do the same.
Actually, I don't like strangers touching me. That's how autistic I am. That's part of why I don't like other people cutting my hair.
Oh, I love it.
They don't even do that good of a job.
Well, let me tell you. So I have a pattern. So I always pick a woman, of course, because it wouldn't be the same, you know. And this one is she's a wonderful Korean Tinkerbell who is about, I don't know, she's probably about 50. She's got 2 kids college age, right? But she's divorced.
Don't you remember a long time ago before Instagram stopped showing likes, I was trying to roast you for following some babe and you're like, that's actually my hairstylist? And it was not a 50-year-old Korean woman.
No, that girl
what happened to her?
She was like a goth Instagram model. No, she moved. She moved to Colorado, but she gave me a copy. I told her about this podcast, and that girl actually gave me a copy of some blaxploitation tape because she's like, I know you like stupid movies, so I got you this.
I thought you were gonna say she gave you a copy of How to Podcast for Dummies. She's like, I need some help.
It was a copy of I'm Gonna Get You Sucker on VHS. Sure. And that was, she gave that to me, and then she left my life. But no, she was much too young. This woman is older than me, and gets a little flirty. Long story short.
So you're basically confirming I'm right, that it is sexual, and if it wasn't a woman, it would be fully gay.
That's sexual. Human beings need touch. You need attention from the opposite sex. I'm not a guy who likes to date, unlike you. See, like, I'm like, my aversion is to getting into a koala bear cupcake, oh my God, don't leave me relationship. You seem to have no problem with that.
Single bachelors here, my friend.
I'd rather just pay someone $75 to flirt with me and touch my face. It doesn't sound great. Maybe it doesn't make me look like the best guy in the world. That's because I'm not. But that's what I do. Anyway, we got a date. She's taking me to the Korean restaurant. We're going to do the spicy challenge.
Are you kidding?
I'm not kidding.
You actually have a date with your hairstylist. Wow.
I've dated many of my hairstylists.
Wow. So I started this as a joke, and it has become realer than my joke.
Not more than you bargained for. I know.
This is what the podcast is all about. I don't even care about the movies anymore. Evan going on a spice date with his Korean hairstylist.
This one goes out to my brother Nicholas, though, and he will hate this whole first part. He won't want to hear any of that. He wants to hear you guys talk about the movie.
Too bad, Nick. Okay, this is what we want to hear.
Well, so Nick's out on tour, this is for you. We're sending this out. I promised him we'd do a podcast and send it out because he gets a little scared when he's about to go. He doesn't have access to all the accoutrement that he normally would. And so we're gonna send him this recording this weekend. It's gonna make his day. So
All right. Well, okay. So I was thinking about like the movie of the movies to watch. All right, because I was thinking again, Joker 2, The Substance, and I keep forgetting. Yeah, it's like Line, Megalopolis. Which I was thinking about, like, which of these do we have the least amount? Are we going to have the least amount to discuss? I think we're going to have the least amount to discuss with Joker 2. So
there's nothing
I
to say about that. There's
What's
nothing to say about it. From my perspective, I was like, what the fuck are we gonna even talk about? I mean, like, it just is what it is.
The one thing I have to talk about is my discussion with Shane. Shane brings up some stuff I want to talk about with you guys.
Well,
but
I want to just say I would love to have you just read the text exchange verbatim
Certainly.
at some point during this.
me and Mike have a baby now.
Yeah,
It's really
yes.
hairy. I can do it now. It won't take that long. I'll read it very quickly.
But yeah, we'll talk. So with Joker 2, I think that's a movie where I would be interested to hear somebody who's like, oh, I really like this movie. I feel like because I'm gonna draw a Metallica comparison here, because I know that like there's on the Metallica subreddit, like there's a weekly Saint Anger actually is a good album. And I feel like there's more that you can do to defend Saint Anger as an album than you can Joker 2 as a movie, because I there was very little in the way of redeeming quality about this movie, and like the scenes that felt like they were kind of going somewhere just stopped.
It's a straight up walkout. I mean, it's one of those rare, like, wow, this is what happens. This is what, if I told AI, make a movie that's so bad that there will be nothing to talk about other than its badness, that would be what happened, would spit out. What is interesting to me about it is, like, I don't understand how people sit in a room, like Joaquin Phoenix had to do a fucking script reading in a conference room while sipping water. And at some level he was agreeing. I don't get,
because it's a sequel, they all like contractually got exponentially more money. So they're like, whatever. It's They did the Flintstones dinosaur, It's a Living, when they did the read through.
but can we agree? Like, I think this hurts. So like I said to you on the phone, Adam, Joaquin Phoenix and Lady Gaga, I have a lot of respect for them as actors.
Absolutely.
And this is not, I mean, this doesn't kill their career, but it definitely is a blow.
It's a waste. It's a waste of both of them.
Yeah.
Waste, and it's a blemish, right? I mean,
one thing you'll like about what a nothing movie this is I'm an idiot. Every time I think a movie is going to be a big deal, I'm so wrong. This goes back to when last time I lived in Seattle, when Gone Girl came out. I was like, this is a new Fincher movie. This is going to be huge. And we lived on Vashon, so we had to like plan ahead. I was like, we're going first showing, opening night. I got to pre-order tickets as soon as they go on sale. It's going to be packed. There were like 5 people there. I did the same thing to Mike for Joker 2. I was like, Mike, Joker 2, Joker was huge. You remember what a big deal Joker was. We have to go to the big Sport FKA Cinerama SIF downtown theater, and we got to get tickets now. I'm going to pre-buy the tickets and get good seats, because even I was like, I don't think it's going to sell out to the big ass theater, but like, I want to get the good seats. They were like 10. You know what that theater is like. There were like 10 people in the opening night screening of that movie, and everybody like you could like hear people fidgeting. They were so bored the entire time.
Yeah.
But I was convinced.
I went to see it at Alamo, where every movie sells out usually. Like, every movie just sells out there. And it was not even, it was like 5 people in the theater. And they were all there to confirm, like, it was interesting to listen to the chatter and mumble before and after the movie. Cause like everybody in that theater was there for reasons like me to confirm, could it really be as bad as they say? And it really is. It's excruciatingly difficult to sit through, which we could talk about, but like, yeah, I mean, my hat's off to him for wasting everybody's time like that. Maybe it's just a big gag. Maybe they're trolling moviegoers.
I kind of think that is on some level what he thinks he's doing. But so I'm going to briefly, as quickly as I can, read through my text with Shane, which me and Shane are talking about Megalopolis and Joker. But Shane brought up something that I think is the one thing I would like to get other opinions about Joker 2, which you'll know when I get to it. So we both just started by saying that we saw both. And then I say, Megalopolis, dance retarded fun, Joker 2, honestly, insane level of seemingly deliberate avoidance of anything anyone would have possibly wanted from a Joker sequel. And then Shade said, hey, this is how I felt leaving Megalopolis. And it's this part of Megalopolis, which is...
That's the best part.
Yeah. And then I was like, as a Joker 1 hater, I was there for Lady Gaga musical, but all but one of the musicals are so drab and boring that the rest of the movie, she just sits there. She literally just sits there. And I said, it should have been Hot Topic, Dance in the Dark. How do you fuck that up? Shia Plaza and Voight steal the show in Megalopolis, the one non-famously embarrassingly bad place. Shane says, I honestly couldn't look at the screen during some of the musical sequences, like when she's hunched behind the piano. I was so embarrassed and bored, so bored, that just spun in circles, reiterating the first movie over and over. Then he died. Couldn't believe it. I say it's so anti-anything. It has to be on purpose. But like, why? To what end? Shane says, John Voight is my new favorite actor. I couldn't stop saying, check out my boner for a week, going back and forth, watch all the Baby Geniuses sequels. I say John Voight in Megalopolis is like when Tim and Eric got weird, confused elderly people said of casting. Shane says it was nihilistic to the point of hating the idea of entertainment, like it had disdain for me wanting to enjoy myself at a movie. Like the music was purposely bad. Even why am I here? I said Megalopolis is a Venn diagram over that between the substance having flavor notes to Tim and Eric. But it's not even nihilistic. It softens the Joker's character. Lady Gaga is the audience surrogate, pissed off that he like lets us down. And then they set up Two-Face as if there's going to be a fucking another one of these. Shane says, and this is the interesting thing I want to talk about. And the implied rape by Brendan Gleeson making Joker lose all interest in Joker was outrageous. Lightly scratched face. Movie looked cheap. Few big sets. What? Where did $200 million go? Was this a producers type situation? And I was like, what? And we're talking about the rape part. But even that is Hays Code level stuff. It was as graphic as the implied rape of Lawrence of Arabia, and that was like a fucking century ago. And then Shane says, I saw a lot of people online arguing they just roughed him up, vague enough for idiots to completely miss the implication. They just hit him so hard his pants fell off. So I'll pause there. Me and Shane go on and on and on. But I'm curious if you guys got the impression that Brendan Gleeson rapes him in that part or not. This is me and Shane.
I can barely understand half the things.
Well, there you go. Me and Shane both just privately called you guys idiots because you didn't get that.
Yeah.
Well,
I go on to say that I bet
help that
he's
you are
pretentious
using
enough to have it be deliberately a reference to the implied rape in Lawrence of Arabia, because that is what it's like.
You know what? It's later in the day here. I'm on island time. You're gonna have to slow it down.
We don't have time. Your haircut, you made. This is how fast we talk when you're late.
So, yeah.
I didn't hear it. I couldn't. You were going way too fast. I couldn't understand.
Well, there's that's like 1/4 of it, which is why I'm taking a break to talk about the name thing I wanted to talk about.
Tell me again, what are you asking us about?
Shane was talking about the scene when after Joker calls them like fat and stupid on TV, and they like take him and beat him up. Shane is saying that the implied rape being what makes him be like, I'm not Joker anymore, is like really stupid and embarrassing. And I was like, yeah, and it's not, and like it's like at a Lawrence of Arabia level of graphicness, so like it doesn't even like it doesn't even like track. And Shane was like, yeah, I see a lot of idiots on the internet who didn't even understand it was an implied rape, like his pants just fell off for no reason.
I didn't get the implied rape, and it's because I wasn't paying very close attention. I have a real hard time. Like if a movie's that fucking stupid and boring, like I'm thinking about whatever else I'm gonna do when I leave the theater. Mike?
And Shane, Shane said that for Megalopolis, he accidentally went to a closed caption screening with 2 bored deaf people.
That's funny.
Right. Because I think with I'm just thinking about like Joker 2. Like they're just like very, very little in the way of redeeming qualities for the movie. There's just like not much to say about it.
It really is funny because you're like we talked about. We're like, oh shit, Lady Gaga, oh fuck, in a musical? And like, yeah, she does sing, but like besides like the first one, it's just like in a void space with a spotlight, and they're doing like AM radio, KTEL Records compilation, easy listening hits, which I love those songs. I was like, I would love to hear that. But like, it's just like, and then she just literally is like sitting there. Most of her actual role in the narrative of the movie is to sit there and be like,
That
like
reminds me, the one scene that is kind of cool is when she just like low key gets up and lights the piano on fire. I did like that.
Exactly. When she gets to do anything, you're like, wow, this is fun. I like this.
I still can't believe that I don't think that's right that they raped him. That's not true. They just beat his ass.
You realize you're verbatim doing what Shane was making fun of people on the internet for saying, calling them idiots.
Well, kind of like the creators of this film, I like to troll my audience, and That little Rottweiler is a nice addition to this crew. I'm glad that we have. Is that really your dog, Mike, or are you taking care of a friend's dog?
Yeah, this is I'm doing some dog sitting here.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is not but yeah, this is I know feels like a good addition here to the.
He's loving it.
Yeah.
You're too busy to have your own dog. You travel too much.
You have to be a sports dog. This is a specially trained sports dog that understands sports and knows how to sport the team.
Yeah. I'm doing too much like moving and shaking, you know.
Well, that's a dog that you could have because you could put a Packers sweater on him and take him on the plane with you when you go to Wisconsin for sports.
That's true, and it's like it's kind of like have a sweater and he can just hang out the sweater or like a little pouch.
What are those baby things?
Yeah.
It's like a hammock that you wear.
But a lot of the dads, so that needless to say, I mean, I live in a hippy dippy collegey type of place, similar to where you guys are, in some ways, and it's an increasing trend where new fathers, who by the way are typically our age or older, and they're new fathers, will wear those serape baby holder things and go into the coffee shop, and it's that's my kryptonite. When I when I see that shit going on, especially if they got the little bike hat on, it's like, oh, this is my baby. It's like, no, you're way too fucking old for that baby. Get out of here.
My experience with that is I think they're into it for the paternity leave. So many managers, the job I have, just keep pumping babies out. They're like, yeah, I'm going to be on paternity leave for 6 months. And I'm like, you're both on leave for 6 months? And
I would
like,
never.
You keep having them, keep taking paternity leave. So retire.
I would never ever give my employees any kind of leave for something like that. I would just immediately replace them.
Yeah, if you have a baby, you have to work double because you're the problem. You're the one putting more people in the world. Oh, you're gonna make everyone else's life harder. You have to work twice as hard. You got to earn that baby.
Well, to me, it's like, okay, I just hate the idea too of having like this, like, oh, my 30-year job. I'm gonna have a 30-year career job, so I'm gonna have to take a leave. Like, no, nobody should make that big of an investment in anyone. From my perspective, it's not the 1950s. That's something you did when there were these big, corporations and manufacturing. We don't do that anymore. You need to figure out a different way to earn your livelihood. Otherwise, it's
Have
just
you done that? I don't think anyone's done that. Or you're saying this is what we all should be doing? I don't know anyone that's done that. Everyone I know just has jobs. You're talking about like investments or passive income is what you're talking about, right?
Are you talking about the grind?
Talking about the hustle.
Yeah. So
I would say we're all doing a real bad job at that. We all just you have like 2 jobs.
No, but
you're the one that's hustling. You're the one that's hustling, that's grinding, that's making it happen. I'm the one that gets to like hour 42 of work and like my brain shuts down.
You guys sign your lives away to a company. It's like, here, I'm gonna attach my financial well-being to this one entity. But you don't have to.
Yeah.
You could sell.
What are you doing that's different? That's what I'm asking.
I'm a contractor.
Well,
you don't know what I do.
Having complicated taxes and not knowing that your income is going to go what would be in the next year.
No. I'm a contractor with clients.
That's what I understand that my joke is like I would rather know what I'm doing for the future. Because I do it all the time. I quit jobs and move and to have a new job all the fucking time. It's not like you have to stay at a job forever.
Exactly.
I know.
So then by that, so this gets me back to my point, which is that, like, why should the employer finance your extended leave?
Oh no, I agree about that.
Right. So that's the part
we're on the same page about.
I don't actually feel. I'm going to go ahead and just say I don't actually feel very strongly about everything I just said about career stuff. I don't care or think about it that much.
Yeah, like my opinions, they're like, if you guys don't like them, I don't have them. I was joking.
No. Like so typically I stand by 100% what I say, but I don't,
Well, do you want to go back to like the cheeseburger rating system? I think what we're going to do here, right, is I think
we're going to go with Joker 2.
I was going to say Joker 2. I'm going back to I think the lowest rating that I had previously given was for Baby's Day Out, which I am going to actually be referencing a little bit later here in this podcast again. But I would
bet I know
say
that. I bet I know about what.
I'm gonna have to give Joker 2 one cheeseburger.
Well, no,
And-
I was thinking about, I'm glad you brought this up. I was like, I really, the first thing I would want to say about Joker 2 is that the cheeseburger system is not adequate.
What?
And that what I'm thinking of is a distribution of movies, right? So like, and I knew we would end up talking about the two shitty movies and not the good one at all. But like, to me, the substance is a home run. Like, has everything you need, easily in the top 10% of movies, maybe 5, right?
Movies
How many-
ever?
Evan-
Movies
Evan-
ever.
Yeah.
Not movies this year.
I won't say ever, but like movies that like we would go to see
Yeah.
and review on this
You know,
show.
like
Yeah, I would say it's a couple standard deviations above the mean in terms of.
Well, that would mean it's in the 99th percentile, but yes, so just a little.
I actually want you to know that I do understand the math behind your joke when I say I agree with it.
No, you said okay. I wouldn't say it's a couple standard deviations above the mean because that's 99.9%. That's too high. Okay, I would say it's like maybe 1.5.
Okay.
It's about 90th percentile. And anyway, what was I going to say? So, and then we have Megalopolis, which to me it's bad, but like I'd probably put it at like 25 percentile, maybe 30.
Okay.
Joker is the worst. Like
So,
on
okay,
purpose.
well-
It's like choosing to be against your enjoyment, like me and Shane were talking about.
right.
Okay, I'm gonna jump in though because in terms of my level of enjoyment that I got from watching these movies, it's Joker 2, Megalopolis, and then like
Yeah.
substance is like it's just like kind of on a completely different tier. I think an area though where Joker 2 is significantly better than Megalopolis is that like Joker 2, like the plot of the movie is clear. Like what's happening.
It's like
Yeah.
one sentence. It's
Yeah.
ridiculous to have a movie that long with the plot that's
Yeah.
that nothing.
Yeah. But you can at least like kind of like
They don't consider that a good thing.
Yeah.
I was
No,
like, if you're gonna
well,
have a movie that long, you have to have a sentence that's a plot that's longer
Yeah.
than one sentence.
Yeah. Whereas with Megalopolis was a bit difficult to follow, and I guess I'm gonna just go back to Baby's Day Out here for a second. Is that there was a specific scene that I was thinking about Baby's Day Out when I was watching Megalopolis, and that's like when they're like when Adam Driver is on like the steel beams that are high above the city. And I just remember thinking to myself, like that, like the same scene in Baby's Day Out looked so much better.
Yeah.
Baby's Day Out looks so much better than Megalopolis.
Absolutely.
So and it's like not even close, which is again. So
And then when they had the baby on the carpet at the end, I thought that's what you're going to talk about. That feels like Megalopolis 2 is going to be Megalopolis Baby's Day Out.
Mhm.
Then the baby, in Megalopolis 2 Baby's Day Out, the baby is going to keep falling off stuff and then using the Adam Driver power, which they discover to be hereditary, to not die. Like in Megalopolis 2 Baby's Day Out, the baby actually keeps falling off of high buildings, but then uses its inexplicable superpower to not die. That's like the new twist for Megalopolis.
Watching Megalopolis though, see, like the thing about Megalopolis was like bad but watchable. Like you're like, okay,
It's like so entertaining.
it's entertaining.
It's
But, like,
certainly never boring.
Joker, you're just sort of like,
maybe 1 minute.
I almost had to leave Joker because it was just like, God damn. It was
Yeah, at a
punishing.
certain point you could tell it was going to be nothing. I was like, well, maybe the ending, and then no, not even that.
There are things about Megalopolis that I like, but unlike Joker, I don't think there's even the slightest chance that it's laughing at itself or that it's trolling. I think what amuses me about something like Megalopolis is that it's the most bloated, grandiose, like you have these mega famous rich creators of shit who have been patted on the back so hard and so long that they can be put in a position to just do something stupid like this. And everybody has to just go along with it. But it's like, I was just imagining Francis Ford Coppola just like drooling in his chair, like, yeah, this is what we're going to like. This is a movie somebody who's suffering from dementia would make.
So
And
go ahead.
no, that's it. Stop.
No, because I was going to say on that point, I did read a little bit about the production of this one. So a couple things. Apparently, Megalopolis took $120 million to make, and Francis Ford Coppola had to sell one of his wineries to finance it. Part one. Part two, apparently, I read a paragraph where it's just like, apparently he was like smoking weed in the trailer, and then he'd come out and be like, all right, like, we're time to film today.
He was like, all right, all right, all
Yeah.
right.
And
Let's do, hey, why don't we do this? Let's have him kiss her butt. All right, Shia LaBeouf and Audrey Plaza, we're gonna have him kiss your ass. You bend over, he kisses your ass, and then we're gonna have him.
That was one of his good ideas. That's what I'm talking about. You're like, well, you know, I didn't see this coming. Because the thing is, if you think about it, I forget the actual runtime. Both Joker and Megalopolis are long. I think they're relatively close in terms of their duration. And when you think about purely how much narrative plot happens in Megalopolis compared to Joker 2, it's like comedic. You're like, I can't even fit everything that happens in Megalopolis in my brain at one time. Versus like Joker is so empty that when I think about the plot, it's like, hello.
yeah,
Maybe we can. Oh yeah, Joker's a total fart.
yeah.
Maybe we can. Part of me wants to give Megalopolis a chance. One of the first things I noticed was that, okay, he thinks he's going to make this to be like a Shakespeare play, right? So there are a lot of elements that are very old school theater, old school drama, Romeo and there's lots of those little references to Shakespearean shit. And that I kind of liked as an idea, like, but also very difficult to pull something like that off. And it was not executed well. Although I thought Shia LaBeouf was fucking, I could watch him in that movie all day. I thought he
Yeah,
was,
like I said, him, Aubrey Plaza, John Voight. Any second they're on screen, magic.
Aubrey Plaza.
Well, that's because you're misogynist. I wanted to say the thing when I walked out of a theater, which again, because I'm compulsive, was opening night at the fucking Pacific Science Center IMAX. I was walking out behind a family that had gone together, but like the kid is like our age. There was like a son our age and two very elderly parents. And as he was walking out, the dad was going like, "Did you understand this quote from Shakespeare?" And the kid was like, "Yes, yes, I did, Dad." And he was like, "So did you understand that was from this?" And the kid was like, "Yes, yes, I did, Father." And that's what I'm saying. I'm like, I get when people do productions of Shakespeare. I don't. And the thing is, more than Shakespeare, he's very specifically doing an actual thing that happened in the fall of Rome. All the character names are something from the fall of Rome. I don't know shit about it except for Wikipedia. And I'm like, I get that you're drawing a parallel between the fall of empires, but like, what are we supposed to get out of the names and some of the character relationships mirroring another thing? Because I'm like, okay, if you want to make a movie about that, I get it, make a movie of that. But you're like, well, this is kind of supposed to be in an ambiguous third millennium, but also like the character names and like structure are mirroring an actual specific thing that really happened. And I'm like, well, I don't really get the like in between. Like, I also don't get when people are like, well, we're not doing Shakespeare, but like, I'm going to do some quotes so people can go, did you know that from Shakespeare? And we're like, yeah, we all fucking know Hamlet soliloquies, okay? They make us learn that shit so that 20 years later you can be like, I was forced to recognize this weird way of talking and be like, that's good. I like when people talk fucked up.
my favorite was when he would go, my Emersonian brain.
Yeah, my
Emersonian mind can comprehend.
Because that's the funny thing. Like you're saying, it's so enamored with like the struggle of being a genius. It's all about like, oh, when you're a genius and no one recognizes you, and you're like, well, so he has like someone not me, someone funnier than me was like, let me get this straight. This substance megalon that he makes up, things we actually see it do, like be weird transparent predator skin for clothing, be like an automated umbrella in someone's hallucination, and be a moving walkway that's slower than walking normally. And this is like the magic substance that's gonna like change the world. And all his and also that all his speeches, he's like gives all these impassioned speeches about it's about the importance of debate. And like no one actually debates anything in the movie, and that's a cop-out non-position in terms of any political stance.
And similar to Joker 2, I just couldn't help but thinking like, what a tremendous waste of resources. Like all these people.
I don't think it's a waste. See, I'm a sucker for chaotic, confusing, broken things. And
Pretty-
you're right, it's not good, but it's so insanely broken at like every level that I'm like a seal going every
Yeah.
time a movie that it's spent, anytime someone spends that much money with their brain not working right. Because yeah, like you said, the
That's
Red
right.
Scare podcast, they were like, this is the experience of having dementia. You watch this movie and you're getting a free preview of what it's like to be like narcissistic and have dementia. And I'm like, yeah, I think that it doesn't work as a movie, but as an experience of someone else's broken brain, I feel like it's doing an exceptional job, and that's way harder to do by accident.
What do you know, Mike?
So I'm gonna start with the positives here. So I do think the scene when Adam Driver gets shot in the face, I jumped when that happened. That caught me off guard. I thought that was probably the best scene.
You know it was coming though, because they'd set it up, and then that kid comes up, and you're like, "There's no reason for this to happen except this kid's going to shoot him." And I was like, "Wow, they're really going to have a kid that young shoot him," which I was excited about. I thought they were then going to shoot the kid, but no such luck.
Yeah, I know. I'm gonna say the like Megalopolis 2. I have a difficult time like saying much about the movie as like same thing with Joker 2, because it's just a total mess. And it's like on some level I appreciate the ambition because there are a lot of ideas there.
But that's the thing. I don't think there are. What are the ideas? The idea is the American Empire is the Roman Empire, and it's going down.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's the second idea? The second idea is like, we should debate. Things would be better if people debated. I don't know what, but debate. Okay, everybody.
Got it. Or maybe ideas. Maybe that. Okay. That's a good point. I think maybe ideas is the wrong way of putting it. Maybe it's like there's a grandiosity, which I appreciate. So I think that's they're trying to be positive here. There's like there are grand ambitions within the movie to tell an epic story, which just didn't really come together in any sort of like cohesive way. And I think that the other thing that kind of gets me about it too, though, is that the movie just didn't look good. And like
again, I agree that it's not good, but I like how completely there's no precedent for a movie looking that fucked up. Like he was like, I'm sure the people that he hired to do those effects, they were like, "This is what you want? No one likes this." And he's like, "No." And I'm like, "Yes, good."
I mean, the movie took $120 million to make. So let's talk the business of Hollywood here for a second. When you have $120 million budget, I'm assuming that's including like actors' salaries, and all of that stuff.
The only thing it doesn't include promotion,
okay,
and advertising, which is secondary to the production.
Yes. So yeah,
Who do you think was the most? I don't want you to look it up. I want you to guess. Who was the highest paid actor in the film?
The highest paid actor in the film. So do you have this information in your handy right now?
I
want to know what.
If it wasn't Adam Driver.
All right, well, let's take Adam Driver out of it. Then who do you think?
Of like the supporting people? Yeah, because that's the funny thing. There's tons of famous people that are barely in it. You're like, oh, Dustin Hoffman. Oh, he's like, oh yeah. Here's another thing I completely did not notice in the movie. I don't even remember. Someone else on Letterboxd was like, yeah, it's kind of weird that like Dustin Hoffman, like at a certain point he dies, but they only show it as like a flashback. Like it's like the person, I think it was Nick Berger's review. He was like, yeah, they only reveal that like Dustin Hoffman's character dies, which like affects the plot as like a flashback in the style of like a Family Guy digression. And I don't even remember that. Do you guys even remember Dustin Hoffman dying?
I don't remember anything about his character.
According to someone who paid attention to the movie, he does die in a way that changes the plot, but it's only revealed as like a flashback in like a second. But yeah, I'm like, oh wow, Dustin Hoffman, but he's barely in it. So like I have no clue what they paid him.
I was excited to see certain members of the cast perform in this kind of role, like the Star Wars guy and Missandei.
Who is the Star Wars guy that isn't Adam Driver?
The mayor.
Giancarlo Esposito is Star Wars guy to you?
Yeah, he's Star
Who's he in Star Wars?
So he's in like one of the TV series, right?
Oh my god, do you watch those? I'm
glad that,
you right now.
So there's a couple. There's a lot of Disney Plus type shit that
I know there is, but you watch it?
I've seen some. I'm
aghast.
Mandalorian, and then of course the gal is from Game of Thrones, and I would say that she's either the first or second hottest of the Game of Thrones babes, which is a whole sphere of intellectual content that we can't discuss because you guys haven't seen Game of Thrones. And I just want to say,
but like you must have also seen Breaking Bad. You're gonna know that he's Gus Fring and call him the Star Wars guy. That's
it's been a long
insane.
time. It's been a long time since
Yeah. You know, I was actually early, I think they were watching this morning. You know, there's an episode of Community that has Giancarlo Esposito.
You know,
So that's my drop in here.
there we go.
Yeah.
You heard it here first, everybody.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Did you actually look up who was paid the most? Because I am kind of curious now. I don't even really have a guess for second place. You're right. And then I'm like, I guess.
Aubrey Plaza. I would guess Aubrey Plaza.
I don't know. So
I kind of don't think so. She's big, but she hasn't been in that many big movies.
Yeah.
My guess is Shia LaBeouf.
Oh, you could be right on Shia LaBeouf.
I'm just trying to think of like who would like be demanding. So I mean, this is like 20, 30 years ago, I would say John Voight, but I feel
But he's also barely in it. He's like Dustin Hoffman, where you're like, he's in it way more than Dustin Hoffman, but he's still like a relatively small role compared to Aubrey Plaza or Shia LaBeouf.
So while you're looking this up, Evan, so what was the last movie that Francis Ford Coppola directed before this? Was it Jack?
Twixt. No, it's Twixt. See, this is the other funny thing. A bunch of people don't have any idea that he's made many movies since his last major studio movie. And people that, if you haven't seen a movie since Jack, this is out of nowhere. But if you at least saw Twixt, you're like, oh, wow, this guy's gone off the deep end and is into smoking weed and weird, bad CGI effects.
It's
So it is Gus.
Okay.
funny to look at these pictures.
Keep scrolling. I gotta keep going down. What? I guess she is in the movie a lot. Wow.
550,000? That's like nothing.
But here's the thing. Because it's a Francis
Look at
Ford
number two.
movie,
This is number two. Wait a minute. This is number two. 550,000 versus 500 for the mayor and 400.
How much did Adam Driver make?
3 million.
Oh, see, no, I'm right.
Okay.
Shy is 700. Who's the stupid lady? Yeah, Shy is 700. Oh, wow. Oh, my God. What the
We're
fuck?
getting a boner.
What the fuck?
Should we?
1 million for this? He didn't do shit.
Isn't Jason Schwartzman like related to Francis Ford Coppola?
This seems wrong, man. I don't know. Okay.
I mean, yeah, what's their source here? What's the
Yeah,
source?
is this
Okay.
like when you look up somebody's net worth and it's like,
Yeah, what are we on? Are we on Wikipedia or
I don't fucking know.
we're on showbizgalore.com.
This is Showbiz Galore. It's the very reputable source of cast. I just want to say, if this is true, this is atrocious that they would pay.
Yeah, I'm not believing that. I'm not believing that. I am incredulous.
Because like if I was gonna say, I don't really know, like obviously Adam Driver did the most work, but like the third and the second, third, and fourth most work would be these three folks, and they didn't get very much money for this movie.
Yeah, I don't believe that. I think that's wrong. But what the fuck do I know? You know what I want to talk about? Here's another thing I want to talk about with this movie. So, famous thing about Francis Ford Coppola related to the podcast, related to movies we've talked about on the podcast. Famous child molester director Victor Salva, who directed Powder, any of our regular listeners know this. Forgive me, Nick and Shane and everyone that knows this. In case anyone doesn't know, he was extremely guilty. He had videos of him having sex with the kids in Clown House. It was an open shut case, actually child molester. Went to jail. Was bailed out specifically by Francis Ford Coppola and the Disney Corporation, who then gave him the children's movie Powder straight out of jail. And many people in that movie didn't even realize he was a convicted child molester that had been boosted out of jail and then had to finish the movie, but were really mad that they've been tricked into doing a movie with a child molester. Anyway, a lot of people think that the plot in this, there's a little part in this movie where I forget her name, whatever her ridiculous name, the virginal pop singer lady, and then there's the scene where they have her having sex with Adam Driver, and it's she's underage, and then it's wow, they're gonna try and cancel her cancel him for having sex with an underage person, and they're oh yeah, of course the guy that spends millions of dollars to get his friend out of jail for actually having sex with actual children would be can you guys believe that the media wants you to cancel people having sex with kids? But then the funny thing is, obviously at some point, and Shane I think pointed this out to me, that you can tell that they softened it partway through making it, because in the world of the movie we saw in theaters, it is subsequently revealed, well, she's actually not underage.
Right.
But then, like, also it was fake. They were like, oh, it's a deep fake, but also she's underage. There's no reason to have both of those in the plot. If it's fake, it's fake. It doesn't matter that she's underage. But they bothered to have the thing, oh, she's actually not underage. And there's a line that Shane pointed out where Giancarlo Esposito says something like, well, you know, it may be immoral even if it's not illegal. And it's like, if she's not underage, it's not even immoral. Having sex with a 20-something, it only makes sense that he would say, like, well, it is immoral if it was that she is actually underage or whatever, or that he actually did it. They just clearly, like, we're trying to, like, change. It doesn't make sense how it happened in the movie versus the way they treat it. Because, like, why would they have it be both? She is actually not underage and it's fake. It's like, what are we doing here?
Right. Yeah. Again, this is a level of analysis of movies and plot points that you are only going to get on this podcast.
Well, this is me relating, me and Shane texting, which I stopped reading. All credit to Shane.
Wait, go back, rewind. What's the irony there with Francis Ford Coppola being
because like that man has spent millions of his own dollars to get a not hearsay recorded himself child molester out of jail and making movies, not just movies, making his entire career. He also makes all the Jeepers Creepers movies. His entire career is working with children after getting caught having sex with kids he was in a movie with.
So we can safely assume that he's probably back up to his antics.
But the point is that someone that has spent a lot of their own money, time, and reputation to get a known, unambiguous child molester out of jail and around kids again would have a plot point in his movie where it's like, well, it's all fake when they want to trick you into thinking that it's bad to have sex with an underage person. They probably weren't even underage. It's probably fake.
He's very funny. He's trying to be an apologist for pederasty.
But then it doesn't even make sense because then they back up and they're like, well, actually, she wasn't underage and it was fake. And then it's like, if it was fake and she's not underage, why does Gus Fring say like, well, it's immoral even if it's not illegal? It's like, well, it was completely fake and she was not underage. So what are we talking about?
So, yeah.
But anyway, yeah, that's just.
I can't quite connect all the threads you're throwing out today, Adam. I can't. I can't do the math.
Well, I could go back to reading me and Shane's text if no one else wants to engage in the spirit of debate, as Adam Driver has advocated for us to do. I'm trying to live out the utopian world of Megalopolis.
It seems like though that like Francis Ford Coppola though had a friend who committed heinous acts, and in this movie he's basically like has a digression, a plot point, which is kind of like a kind of like indirect defense of his friend.
But then like someone was like, you can't do that, and then they like added the two ways where he didn't actually have sex with them. It seems like he had a thing where someone had sex with an underage person, and it was supposed to be like, oh hey, but like chill out about it, and people were like, you can't fucking do that. And he was like, all right, well, she's not underage and it's also fake. But I didn't change the dialogue about how like it may be immoral, but it's not illegal.
Yeah, and then also the the virgin character just like disappears from the movie. And
yeah, she like barely exists. She has the outfit and the sex tape. That musical number though, that really is one of the most from another dimension parts. That and because that's also the same part when Adam Driver is getting wasted and doing like weird interpretive dance, which is another one of my favorite parts of the movie.
Yeah.
I want to point out again for the second time that we have not discussed the substance whatsoever, even though it was.
We've touched on the substance.
I honestly say I legitimately believe there is less to discuss because, like you say, it's a good movie that's doing what it sets out to do.
Slam dunk. Well, and I'll also say it's been the longest since I've seen it, which I feel.
Well, bad. I think we do need to get into the substance though. I think that is. Did we talk about Joker 2? Talk about Megalopolis. Burger rating. I'm gonna go 2 cheeseburgers here for Megalopolis, because definitely the movie's a mess, but you know what? It is a movie I'll remember for sure.
I'm a lot harder on Megalopolis, and I think it deserves an F. Well, I think it deserves.
You're abandoning the burger scale.
It deserves half a burger.
Less than Joker. You think this is worse than Joker?
Oh, Joker is 0 burgers.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So this is half a burger, and I think this is like, even though it is entertaining, this is to me the worst kind of movie. Like I don't like it. It is
Worse than Joker.
it is a bad thing. Both movies are. This would apply equally to both these movies. It is a rotten bad thing when big money and big names.
It's his money. He can do whatever he wants with it. It's
Okay.
not my tax dollars.
Big money and big names that could have got spent on good art get thrown after bad simply because of the corruption of the system. And that's what this is. If we had if the economy worked properly, we wouldn't have shit like this. We wouldn't have people like Francis Ford. If justice were served, there wouldn't be 120 million spent on Megalopolis. It would be spent on Blank Check 2 or something like that.
We spent on The Mandalorian. Good stuff like The Mandalorian with the Star Wars guy. To me, that's way worse than Megalopolis. Having 100 million expensive shows rehashing the same shit we all know from when we were fucking kids is way more of a failure of capitalism than one crazy, demented rich guy smoking weed letting you experience his broken brain.
You know
what else? Here's what I'm gonna say.
Your automatic reflexive aversion to anything mainstream has gotten so silly to the point where it's like
It's not even as mainstream.
You might as well just say like, I don't do Disney. Well,
But
fine.
here's what I'm saying.
Here's the thing.
There are many great Disney movies. I love Aladdin, Lion King. These are great movies. I'm not anti-Disney. I'm anti-Star Wars Disney TV shows.
Same thing. Same.
No, it isn't. The fact that you think they're the same is...
I'm not saying it's great, but I'm saying that like things like Game of Thrones, Stranger Things, whether you like it or not, have cultural significance that it's always been interesting to me that you're so willing to dismiss, because a lot of the movies that you do like have, unfortunately, genetic material in those pieces of culture, and that you're just saying that's not art, that's not good.
What are you talking about? What do you? I don't understand what you're referring to about genetic material from what?
I'm saying that to dismiss wholesale the broad swaths of like media that you do is to ignore integral pieces of culture that would be useful to you.
How would it be useful to me? That's what I don't understand.
Because it helps you to understand and dissect the things that you do like. That's why I watch it, right? Like that's why I'm like, I don't fucking love Star Wars at all. The whole fucking Star Wars thing. But I mean, it's important. I think everybody should watch it. And I think a similar argument could be made for something like The Mandalorian, which had an enormous cultural impact.
Which was what?
It shaped what people were talking about in terms of streaming television for years.
But here's the thing. Another show that is what you're talking about that I love and rapidly watch, Breaking Bad. When Breaking Bad was coming out, there were substantive things where people were like, well, whether you like were on Skyler's side or not. There actually were like character arcs that people had like an Adam Driver and Megalopolis debate over. Mandalorian, people like, did you see that Amy Sedaris was in it? That was crazy.
Oh no,
that's not an impact on culture.
The analog I would make is like you're like the foodie who only eats at Michelin stars, right?
But that's not even true. I watch more shit than anybody, and not all of it is fucking courthouse bullshit.
Nobody says that McDonald's is high quality cuisine, but if you want to understand the food culture of the United States of America and you don't know anything about McDonald's, I'm not listening to what you have.
Here's what I'm saying. You know what I fucking love? Seinfeld. That's fucking McDonald's. And I'm obsessed with it. I've watched the whole series like 10 times.
My definition of McDonald's and yours are a little different, but fair enough.
Here's what I want to say. I understand what you're saying, and I think you're wrong about me because you don't differentiate between. You're like, well, there's a mainstream thing I like that you don't like, so you don't like mainstream things.
I'll give you that. So your version of McDonald's is Seinfeld. Mine might be a little lower.
And you know what else? Community, Parks and Rec. These are all shows I've watched the entire series multiple times.
Those are all kind of acclaimed. Do you know what I mean? Like,
because they're better than the fucking Mandalorian. This is what I'm saying. You don't understand that the Mandalorian is objectively bad.
I go back to
it's not that it's mainstream. It's actually bad.
McDonald's isn't acclaimed. McDonald's is widely known as
acclaimed. McDonald's is good. Coca-Cola is good.
You've gone.
I like both those things.
This is, you know what? We're going to pivot.
You're coming down saying you're anti-McDonald's? The end of this? You trying to say that I'm the fucking foodie are now saying McDonald's is bad and I'm saying McDonald's is good?
No, in fact, the opposite. I said
You just said McDonald's isn't good.
I can appreciate the subtle sophistication of cheap shit in a way.
Here's what I'm saying. I think you can't because you think The Mandalorian is the same as Parks and Rec.
I didn't say that. Parks and Rec sucks anyway. I don't even know why you bring that up.
The Mandalorian. So you are saying The Mandalorian is a better show than Parks and Rec, which I don't think is the best show.
No more than I'm saying that Chick-fil-A is better chicken than, whatever the fuck. Look, man, I don't particularly even like The Mandalorian, but I do think it's important. Like if you had a museum of media for the past 5 years, Mandalorian would need to be in that museum. Right, Breaking Bad and whatever, and Seinfeld, whatever the fuck else.
You think The Mandalorian would be in the same museum of television as Breaking Bad and Seinfeld? This is literally melting my brain.
Can I jump in here for just a moment? Which is that I think I think your point, Evan, like the Mandalorian, is that it was massively popular.
Popular doesn't mean culturally significant, and I think that's the distinction that's being missed.
I think that's an area where I think we might. I do think that when we talk about like impact and talk about significance, I think that popularity like does factor in, and I think that I think that I don't know. I think if something is like massively popular, again, maybe it's not going to like have the lasting impact, not going to have the claim of other things, but I do think that it's some consideration.
It's a consideration. I'm just saying the idea that I ignore it because it's popular is false. There are plenty of popular things I like. We can accept that. We can agree about that.
Just because there are popular things that you like doesn't mean you couldn't ignore things because they're popular. Now we're getting
watch everything that's popular. And here's the fucked up thing. I think separate from
you don't like it. Here's where I sympathize with you. You don't like it because here's my suspicion. I could be wrong. My hypothesis is a lot of this shit you hate so much. You don't like the people who like it.
And that's everybody. That's like everybody. That's the thing. You're saying, they're the most popular shows in the world. I don't like you. You are right. I used to like you, but now that you like The Mandalorian, I don't like you anymore. You got me. Busted. But here's what I'm going to say. Real quick. Related to what you're saying. Related to the accusations being made against me, which I'm going to address in the order they're being delivered to me. Mike knows this. Another coworker of mine moved out here around the same time as me. She moved out with her fiance and some other people, blah, blah, blah. I've went on hikes with them a couple times. They are doing a very funny thing where they don't know anybody out here. I know Mike, that's one person, there's not nobody. So they like go hang out with random people. And they'll be like, hey, do you want to meet up? We're going to go on this hike. Do you want to come with us? I'm like, yeah, sure. They're like, yeah, there's just some random people that also are new to the city that are going to come with us. So I have been recently in the scenario of spending several hours talking to random people. And you know what? I'm very rarely in contact with people this normal. My coworker, I like. She's nice. She's normal enough. She hangs out with actually normal people, but she's not like this. I make jokes about people being NPCs. These are full-on NPCs. And it confronts me with the fact that like the majority of Earth are people that really are so NPC that all their decision-making processes are what you're saying, which is like, well, it's popular, so that's what I like, and it's good because it's popular. Because I also have people tell me all the time, well, Taylor Swift is the most high-paid musician because she's actually the best. Things that are the best are the most popular and successful. That's why they're so popular and successful. Do you think that's true?
So what is NPC?
Let him answer.
Well, this is his new thing. He had to explain this to me on the phone the other day. NPC, I believe it's marginally peripheral character or something.
You know what it is? It's a huge cultural thing that you should know about because if it's part of mainstream culture, we should all know about it from the moment.
I just want to say I want to say real quick is that so I'm on the fifth floor and have a window open, but I wonder I bet if we were to go outside, it's going to be like that episode of House when he's like telling a story in the auditorium and it's like empty at the beginning of the lecture and then at the end. It's like totally full. I'm gonna go outside. I really we're gonna go outside.
I really need to know if Evan thinks that if things are popular, it's because they are actually good and they deserve their success. Do you think that's an accurate statement?
I know that.
Let him answer.
No, I never. Not even close.
I know. I know. I know you haven't said that, and it's an important distinction I'm trying to make. So you don't think that is true?
No, but I think there are things that I would consider bad art that are nonetheless important culturally.
Sure. Yeah.
And
I think that's absolutely true. And I think none of the Disney Star Wars shows, in my opinion.
I would disagree. You also haven't seen any of them. You don't know anything about it.
Yeah, well, the thing is, I'm omniscient.
Uh-huh.
The
There's also something I'm just gonna point this out. This is kind of like Big Brother Evan. I'm just trying to like say like there's something about the need to point out others being basic
Uh-huh.
and NPC that makes one suspiciously NPC-esque is all I'm going to say.
I'm not even going to dignify that with a response. That's the most. That's like at a megalopolis level of like meaninglessness.
I think
It-
that
it- It's like that. It's like the person who's like always accusing other people of being racist because they're racist.
But like, so how am I the NPC?
I think you are afraid you are, and that's why you're so intense.
Okay, this is very related to what you're talking about. I understand what you're saying. Another thing that's insane to me that I wanted to bring up, not related to movies, but related to meeting these people, is my coworker who I meet these people with. Then, like, they don't have a car out here, so I'm driving them back. So we have time separate from these random people that we hung out with.
Yeah.
And they'll be like, "Oh, they were nice." I'm like, "Yeah, they're really nice." You know, like whatever. I don't really think I have a lot to talk about with them, whatever. A thing that has come up with these other people and my former coworker is the idea that people are like, yeah, you know, like I've been thinking I need some new hobbies or whatever. And I'm like, I haven't had a choice in my interest my entire life. I have felt like I'm on a fucking freight train of like obsessed with the same shit for my entire life. The idea that people choose what they're into is real and probably normal. That has not been my experience with any of the shit I'm into.
Well,
And I'm curious if you feel like you've ever been like, oh, I'm deciding that I'm into this. I'm like, I don't have any choice in this. This is just what I'm into.
no, I'm more like you in this respect, in that I actually feel overwhelmed with the amount of things I'm already interested in, that there's not
Absolutely.
enough time. There's not enough time for me to properly ingest everything. But I know a lot of people who sing that same lament of like, I don't have any hobbies, and I'm very curious about it. Because if I would, this is where I think I would differ with you, is that like the hairstylist who I just spent an hour talking to, right? She doesn't have any, she's the kind of person who's like, I don't have hobbies. I'm a mom, I work really hard, and you know, I like to do yoga. Very NPC, but that never makes me think, oh, this isn't an interesting person. It's
No,
just that
it's
they,
not that, to be clear, I'm not saying they're not interesting. I know that me and those people fundamentally are not going to have a lot of stuff that we're trying to like share with each
you
other.
won't let yourself. You won't let yourself ask questions about them. You've already written them off. That's the thing. It's like,
Because here's the thing, we have a very short amount of time on Earth. Why the fuck am I going to make myself hang out with people I know I don't have anything in common with? I only want to bother interact with people that I have at least something in common with.
this is, yeah, you and I are super different. And I think so it's like, to me, if you're a car salesman, you don't know who's the next sale, right? So you see a person coming in and they may not look like the kind of person that's going to buy the car. You can't fuck around. You better make your sale. You make your pitch, you connect. So what I'm saying in this context is you can't tell that quickly that somebody is boring and useless, right? Like it takes some time for me to figure out if a person truly is vapid, you know, that's all I'm saying.
I actually, in general, and I forget, there was actually a class I took at UW-Madison where they like brought up studies I don't remember about this. I actually, based on my own life experiences, I do think that even like without even really getting into anything with anybody, that like for me personally, I feel like I do have a pretty high level of like my snap judgment works out to be accurate. Because sometimes I'll be like, you can't just like know that. You talk to them for 2 seconds. And then like I'm not even gonna name names because it involves people who I don't want. There are people that like I was like instantly like, fuck this person, I don't want to be around this person. But they ended up being very good friends with other people I'm friends with. So I was around them for years. And then I was like, oh, well, you know, maybe I was wrong. And after years of being around this person, and then I'm without fail, anytime I've been like, I've met this person, I don't want to be around this person. Somehow I am. I've never been like, wow, I misjudged that person. It's always like, wow, I wish everybody had the same snap judgment I did, and my other friends didn't make me be around these horrible people for years of my life. In my own personal experience.
So just want to go back. So how many cheeseburgers are you giving the Mandalorian now?
Mandalorian is not a movie, therefore it does not get cheeseburgers.
Got it.
Mandalorian, that's actually a very and this makes it even more basic, NPC or whatever, but it was watched over a winter break holiday it was just me and my parents watching The Mandalorian. Good parent fodder. Everybody can get into it. Everybody can get behind it. And yeah, we had a nice time. We watched the 8 hours of stupid Star Wars stuff. And there's a little Yoda in there.
I was I have some other thoughts that are probably not going to can contribute to this discussion here, but let's talk about the substance, because I want to talk about the substance. I think that's what the audience wants.
Yeah, we're running out of time.
I think the audience wants to talk about the substance here, and so let's see, where do we begin when we talk about the substance?
You guys tell me, have I on a recorded, uploaded podcast previously espoused my Margaret Qualley fandom pre this movie? I know I haven't Letterboxd.
I was going to ask, but that was going to be my first question. I saw her in another movie that I really liked recently. What was it? Where they're out on the lam.
Oh, Drive Away Dolls.
Drive Away Dolls. I saw her in Drive Away Dolls, and
I think she's great, and I love her dumbass funny voice and shit in that. I didn't really like that movie, but I think she's great in it. She's great in everything. Well, I will say personally to you, the movie that made me be 100% into her forever is what the fuck is it called? The Claire Denis movie where she's stuck in Nicaragua. Fuck, what is that movie called?
I didn't see it.
You would like it. I'm saying you would like it. It looks like something you wouldn't like, and I'm here to tell you, and I won't spoil why you would like it, but you would like it. And I will have the title for you.
I can only imagine.
Shortly. Yeah. Stars at Noon. Stars at Noon from 2022. You're not going to think you're going to like it. Trust me, and I won't spoil why you'll like it. You'll like it. That's the movie that sold me on her. Ever since I saw that.
I'm just going to spoil it. It has like a really cool guitar solo.
Yeah, she's like a shredder.
Yeah, it's kind of comes out of nowhere. But what she does is like it's incredible. What she's listening to is a Joe Satriani working with the alien, only the rhythm tracks. And she just like, not only does she nail,
she does an Aussie draft in the movie.
Yeah. Which I was thinking too, as an aside, I think maybe Evan, like you and I need to like redraft Ozzy and like redraft Metallica, because I am interested. Part one is like how the order would change, and part two for the Ozzy draft, I think that the second time around, one of us would take Crazy Train.
The Ozzy draft was legendary, and I'll never forget it because we actually did our homework. We prepared.
We did, yes.
We re-listened to the whole catalog.
Yeah.
And we're like, you know what? Crazy Train is bad.
Well, I think it made sense to take it off the list.
What do you hate things that are popular? What do you think? Just because it's mainstream doesn't mean it's good?
It would be like, no, far from it. It would be more like, okay, Mike, we're going to draft our all-time basketball dream team, and we're setting Michael Jordan aside. That's right. What we did. We just set aside the sort of like, oh yeah, obvious, whatever. And I'm not a sports guy. Is that how it works when people draft players? They put aside the biggest players? This is fantasy. It's about fairness. Yeah. Fantasy draft, you ignore the best player?
Hey, it's fantasy draft. You can do it wherever your dreams take you.
It's a fairness thing.
You know what though? Here's the thing. I do remember that in the Aussie draft, if I remember correctly, like at the very beginning, like you and I knew that Crazy Train was not going to be selected. I think that we gave that song its due.
We didn't talk about it.
Yeah, because Crazy Train is like was my introduction to Ozzy to begin with. So it's like I think that we gave Crazy Train its due. But I'll tell you what, the substance was also a bit of a crazy train, and also kind of went off the rails there. So I guess I'll just like start by saying this is the ending of, or like the final part of the substance, when you get into what was like the title screen, like Monster Elizabeth Shue or whatever, or Elizabeth Sue. Yeah, Monster Elizabeth Sue. I was not expecting it to get that.
Yeah, I don't think anybody was.
And that was I think I remember after the movie, I said to Adam, like, hey, do you remember that scene in RoboCop? And he was like, You don't even have to like. I'm gonna ask. And Evan, like you know the scene that I'm talking about when I say remember that scene in RoboCop.
You've
Okay.
talked about it on this podcast like many times.
Yeah. So, but it was like, yeah, it was basically that scene.
It was
And
a guitar solo of that.
yeah, and I want to add to as well. So again, this is my old man yelling at cloud take here, but I feel like movies just don't look as good as they used to. I'm gonna go back to Baby's Day Out. I think that movie looked great. I think that like if that movie was made today, it would be like, wow, that's a great looking movie. I thought The Substance looked great. I thought that like all of the makeup, all the prosthetics, everything like about it looked good. And I assume that like all of the stuff there was like prosthetics. So
I don't know, 100%,
but
way more than usual.
Wait, yeah, I mean, like, but like when her like face like melts into the sidewalk, that's probably going to be some CGI there. But I thought that looked good, and but that last bit of it and the way that like Sue's face was kind of like on the back. I mean, I just everything about that was good, and I'll say too. The scene where I had to close my eyes was when she was in the elevator and like her fingernails were peeling off. Couldn't handle that, and the tooth part I could handle a little bit of that, but that was there was some gross stuff in there. But I am impressed because I know that we were talking about it too, where there was like kind of like the three mishaps with Elizabeth Sparkle, where like her finger got a little bit discolored. And then she became like she was like 90 years old, and then she became like she was like 190 years old, and like that was the one where it's like, okay, this is as far as it's gonna go. And the fact that they just like it was like a logarithmic scale, and they just ramped it up from there. I was impressed.
Her deterioration was logarithmic. That's that, and I bet you that was decided on prior to making them like in the script. I bet that word logarithmic is in there. I
Only
agree.
French, because she's French. What do you think the French word for logarithmic is? A logarithmique.
Here's what I loved about the movie. That it had all that really cool visual stuff and was just a marvel and a romp and a really big party of blood and gross shit. But it also was a cool idea. I liked the idea of them having this weird, mysterious mail-in substance and her going to her special lot. It just, that as a metaphor was very clear cut.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. What is it a metaphor for? It's literally what it's about. It's not a metaphor because it's about aging. Like if it's a metaphor, what is it symbolic of?
So
Fountain of Youth, the fucking
but it's about like the fetishization of youth and whatever.
It's direct in the sense, yeah, sure. But
I'm gonna say for the metaphor part, and this is an idea that I think I picked up from like a Reddit thread, or maybe it was like AV Club review. So not my idea coming in, but I think like talking about like the substance as a metaphor, which I remember reading about, was like what's that like weight loss drug that's like it was Ozempic, or like kind of a metaphor for, and I'm gonna have to find. I think this was like the AV Club review, but like was, or maybe it was Vern too. I don't know. I remember. The metaphor of like there are like these like weight loss drugs, like these beauty drugs out there, which are like kind of new and like some of them aren't super regulated, and we don't know what the long-term effects of them are. And I feel like the substance, I don't know if this is what you're getting at, Evan, but like the substance is kind of like a bit of a metaphor for those.
It's not a metaphor because that's literally what it is.
Yeah.
Well, it's an anti-aging substance. So in that sense, it's not a metaphor for anti-aging substances. Yeah. But that idea of an anti-aging substance is part of a bigger metaphor that I would call like the fountain of youth fallacy.
Yeah.
Oh, the possibility of it.
Just the idea of chasing this former version of this better version of yourself through artificial means. That's all.
See, here's the thing I want to talk about with that. I think it seems to me, and I can't really know, I think I don't really have that. I think that's a lady problem, which is very part of the movie. Do you guys, I don't even want to be 20 years old again. You know what I mean? Do you guys feel that way? Would you guys do the substance? I'd be
No,
like, no, I'm good.
no, it's only for ladies and gay guys. No, I'm just
Is
kidding.
it even for gay guys? Gay guys also like, I feel like gay guys more than any sexual culture,
Yeah.
being old is less of a write-off than
Yeah.
even straight guys. Ladies
Yeah.
get it the worst. Straight guys neutral. Gay guys most open-minded
No,
about
but Mike said Ozempic, right? So like my version of that would be like, oh man, I sure miss my
That's
ass.
not age. That's
Yeah,
not
well,
age.
yeah.
That's why it's a metaphor, is because it's
You
about.
were fat before you were 20.
I was also thin for a
Yeah.
time, and so yeah.
Well, that's why it's not an age thing.
Yeah, to your point is that like I feel like the pressure on being like young and beautiful is like way more on women than on men. So I think we'd agree with that.
I honestly feel like more people hit on me now as an almost 40-year-old man than they did when I was 20.
Mhm.
I don't know why. I don't think I look
They know you
better.
don't give a shit. That's because they know that that's a vibe, that's an energy thing.
But anyway, so and that's why I know that as much as I enjoy this movie and I engage with its non-metaphorical text, I don't relate to it at all. Like I'm like, yeah, well, that's never going to be a thing I'm really stressed out about.
Well, isn't part of it though supposed to be that this is focused on women? Like this
For
is
sure, but that's why I was curious. I agree with that, and that's what I was saying. That's the text of the movie. She does have the guy that gives it to her. It's implied in the movie that men also do it, but the movie is very female centric, of course. But I was just curious if we were all on the same page about how not really. I wouldn't even do that, even if it didn't have side effects. I'd be like, I don't want to be 20 again.
Yeah, and if we were gonna like be like take a literal thing of this too, is that so it seems like in the movie, I know there's the whole like, and remember like you are one. It doesn't seem like the memories translate over. So like, I mean, I just to kind of like look within the confines of the movie. If it's something where it's just like, oh, every week I get to be like 20 years old again, and I will remember everything about that experience, then it's like, okay, well, you'll at least have that to consider. But this seems to be, and I haven't seen the show Severance at all, but it does seem to be like a Severance situation where it's like you're old and you're young, and like even though you are one, like you don't remember it. So for me, it's like if I'm not even going to remember it anyway, then why would I do it? But also watching like how like you birth your other self, that's like really gross, and I wouldn't want.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Even if it didn't involve that, even if there wasn't a traumatic surgical cicada exoskeleton spawning thing that you had to do, I still would be interested.
Yeah.
Related to not remembering stuff, which that is an interesting part of the movie, that like it seems like I can't decide if the movie is implying that they're just like repressing or in denial about remembering it, or if you really can't. But something that someone pointed out that's another very lady-centric thing about the movie is there's, of course, one of the great scenes when the movie's ramping up is when Demi Moore decides she's going to just eat like shit, and she's cooking all that crazy shit. But like, you never see her eat it. Like the movie has a very like eating is gross thing, because like Dennis Quaid is eating is so gross, and the food is all so gross, and the movie, as willful the movie is about grossing you out, it makes such a big production of the cooking, and you're so ready for her to be like, but like you don't even see her eat it. The movie's like, well, that's a bridge too far. Seeing a nice lady eat gross food, that's too much.
Well, you're making a lot of assumptions there, pal.
Let's hear it. Run it down for me.
I don't know that them not showing her eating is because they thought it was too much.
I don't know that, but I think it's funny to imagine that.
Yes, it is funny to imagine that.
And honestly, until it was pointed out to me, I kind of am like, I can't, because they make such a big thing of Dennis Quaid eating. You're ready. You're like, oh, this movie's ready to have the fucking camera in her mouth and all kinds of gross shit happening, and you get nothing. It is because of the contrast of Dennis Quaid eating.
She probably said, I'm not doing that. That's probably where she's like,
she did everything else in that movie and was like, that's even more fucked up.
I believe that Demi Moore would say, okay, I'll show my ass and my bush, but you can't do a close up on my mouth eating turkey.
I want to add though on this discussion of like Demi Moore eating, is that like I feel like that was like so implied that like I didn't even think about, like, we didn't actually see her eating, and I don't feel like I missed anything by not seeing her eating.
No, so but I mean, like, you also didn't need to see Dennis Quaid eating that gross, but the movie revels in it, and it's like in the trailer and shit. The movie's so into that part of him being gross eating.
It's funny that you took issue with this. I like that.
For the record, I, like Mike, did not notice or think about it in the movie. Someone else was like, isn't it kind of, someone else pointed it out. And I was like, yeah, I hadn't occurred to me either, but it is funny that it's such a big part of one of the big scenes and then it's completely glossed over after a big thing of her cooking food.
But yes, I think that is a good point. One that I hadn't thought of. I mean, like my takeaway from the scene when she was cooking was that there was like the hatred that she has of Sue, which I guess would be like self-hatred, just how everything works, and like that was like the focal point of it. So the
self-hatred is she's gonna eat the food to make her body fucked up, but then they don't show her doing the eating.
Mm-hmm.
I already told Evan this. My other big takeaway is like how the fuck does Dennis Quaid get to be the crazy guy when Randy Quaid is alive? Randy Quaid was not going to be that fucking guy. Dennis Quaid has been taking more and more crazy evil guy roles in his old age, and he's taking advantage of his brother's mental problems because anytime Dennis Quaid is bad or crazy, it should be Randy Quaid. And I just fucking imagine Randy Quaid watching The Substance because like he's already into all kinds of celebrity conspiracy shit. He was born to be in The Substance. That's so fucked up that Randy Quaid doesn't get to be in it.
I feel like Randy Quaid's like too crazy though. Like I feel like Dennis Quaid is like a very good like right down the middle, guy. I feel like Randy Quaid would just be a bit too unhinged for it.
But the thing is, I agree with you, but the movie is making his character so over the top. Like I agree that it is not like Dennis Quaid is not your over the top guy, but the movie is choosing him to be the over the top guy. And I'm like, Randy Quaid's out there in a ditch somewhere, just waiting for smoke signals to alert him to return to Hollywood, California.
You could have it like in the sequel. You could have Dennis Quaid use the substance, and then Randy Quaid is what happens. So
Randy does the substance, and Timothée Chalamet comes out.
Good. You know what, guys? I got to take a quick bio break for pee. Okay. So keep going.
Okay.
No.
So I guess we're gonna be we're gonna talk some sports while we're at it. So right.
Yeah. What's the game? Oh, here's what I want to talk about. As it's too bad Evan's missing out on this. Mike already knows this. I took the monorail to get here because although it's easy to drive from where I live, where Mike lives, not easy to park here. So and in general, I've become my public transportation guy. I drive my car like once a week, and in general, I love it. Seattle doesn't have the best public transportation, but I live close to the train. But I desperately need, and this could be your $1 million passive income. I need my phone to alert me with a radius when there is a sports event happening. Because that will totally mess up your public transportation. It's happened to me twice, and I've only been here like a month. Where I'm like, okay, well, I'll just take the train. And then you're like, oh my fucking God, it's 1 million people with jerseys that can't even get on the train. And like, I would literally have planned differently, but I'm oblivious. I just need my phone to be like, did you know there's a game now? Every motherfucker is going to be going that way on that train. And I'd be like, oh shit, I'll either wait or take a different route. And I think you're supposed to just know about it, but I'm so clueless. If I would literally pay a monthly fee for my Google Maps to be like, alert, high density traffic predicted because of sports game.
What you're going to need to do is you can get like sports team schedules, like magnets.
That's too complicated.
Yeah, you're going to get those near.
Because it could be different teams. I don't care about it. I just want to know. I only care if it is happening when I'm going somewhere. I don't want to fucking learn the fucking NFL schedule or whatever. Don't you think this is a good idea?
I see. Kind of event.
I would pay money.
I don't know if that's $1 million idea. I feel like that's like a tens of dollars type of idea. But here's the thing. I think it's a good idea because like if you're driving around like the Washington DOT will be like expects delays. There's a game event. So I feel like it'd be pretty easy for the state of Washington to like kind of like put out.
The government should be involved. Yeah, because it's way bigger than weather. I don't care about a weather like it's raining. I don't give a shit. Tell me there's a fucking game.
I'm picking up what you're putting down because like if you're trying to use the monorail like immediately after a Kraken game, like you're gonna have to wait a long time to get back. Yeah. So or same thing like going like for like a Seahawks game going on, using the light rail. You'll be able to get on, but you'll definitely be packed in there.
So the worst is one time I wasn't even on public transportation. I just went to Uwajimaya, the Asian grocery store right by the stadium. And I was like, oh, they have like parking where as long as you spend money there, it's free parking. And I've never had to not park right by there. And I was like, why is the parking so crazy today? I had to like actually go in the underground garage. And then you go in there, and it's because everyone like even though they have a million signs saying like no event parking, everyone just parks there for the game. And then the game gets out, and they all go buy the cheapest piece of candy in the store to get the parking. So I'm just trying to actually get some fucking normal bullshit. And a million drunk motherfuckers with jerseys like, can I get one lollipop for the parking, please? And the line's like a million long. And then you're like trying to get out, and I'm like, someone should alert me that this is it. There should be just like my phone should have a big glowing red thing over like whatever radius the game is starting or ending at.
So I would say, I'm gonna say kind of like, believe it or not, like tangentially pull us back to the substance. So we talked about earlier on, would you take the substance to like to have like your doppelganger? And I'm like, so I wouldn't do it. However, if there was like if the doppelganger was like I could be somebody who was just like, okay, well, you're not supposed to park here, but I bought my candy bar, so like I'm entitled to this spot. Because like I feel like they have a peace of mind.
Yeah, no, they're bad.
Yeah,
you're good.
Yeah,
they're bad. You don't want that. You say you want an evil version of yourself.
I know that's the thing.
I want someone without ethics in the world.
Okay, you're right. You're
saying you're the good version of yourself.
You are setting me on the right path here, Adam, because like I'm feeling like there's like a temptation to break bad here, to have peace of mind, because if I just like make things difficult, it would be easier on me. But you're right.
We don't need dark mind.
Yeah,
we have good mind.
Yeah. Oh well, that's good.
I find it interesting that the Seahawks wine and cheese bougie fans would need to pinch pennies like that by stealing.
I know.
Yeah. Well, the other part here too, though, right? Like if you're just trying to go to a grocery store,
which is what I was doing,
then it like that's a real inconvenience. And that also can't be good for the business either, because people are like, well, I can't park here, so I'm gonna go somewhere else. So yeah.
So
okay. So I would not take that substance either. Okay.
We're anti-substance here at the podcast.
About Seattle. By the Uwajimaya grocery store, there used to be a video game store.
No, it's still there.
It was like the pink chimpanzee or something. The pink.
Yeah. I know what you're talking about.
What is it called?
I don't remember, but I always see it because when I'm walking around down there.
Anyway.
So let's getting back to the substance. So I'm just kind of like free association stuff here. I did appreciate that outside of the condo, I assume it was a condo where Elizabeth Sparkle left. I do appreciate that there was
It is Pink Gorilla. You got it exactly right. Pink Gorilla.
I appreciated that there was a giant billboard of Sue that was out there. I feel like the movie had some of those kind of like absurd touches of like of all the places.
I mean, yeah, it's extreme. That I like that. Like the whole thing is so over the top. It's as over the top as Megalopolis. It just actually has like a focused target for its satire, unlike Megalopolis.
Yeah. And I also going to throw that one out there. I also felt bad for Fred. Actually, you know what though? What I thought was funny, the whole thing because Fred was the name of her high school friend.
Oh yeah, that is like the saddest part.
Yeah, that was so. I want to say what I thought was like one of the funniest parts of like at the beginning when he's like, "Oh, here, let me give you the number," and then he like drops it.
Yeah, every little thing is that over the top. Yeah. That could have just been glossed over. Like, no, we're gonna have this gross ass parlor. He's gonna like wipe it all.
Yeah.
But, can I make one observation before we get too much more into it?
Yeah.
Because I just want to head this off. There's a character in the movie who I think is someone who Adam would say is a lot like me. And that character, I'm curious, Adam, if you can guess. So what is the character in the movie who you would say, oh, that's Evan?
The neighbor across the hall.
It's the neighbor. It's the neighbor.
I didn't think it during the movie. Only I didn't watch because there many times, which I always bring up when it happens. I watch a movie and go, "That's Evan."
Only you
did not
think
happen in
those
the
kinds
subject.
of
Only when prompted could I guess.
There are other types of Evans that get diagnosed. It's not usually the kind of sleazy scumbag boyfriend type. But you'd like to diagnose me as that. So I wanted to point out that that's what.
Well, I didn't think of it until you prompted me, for the record.
Yeah.
But I do remember laughing.
I thought.
felt. for
That
that.
guy, that guy reminded me of Justin Long and Barbarian. That was the
That's
other.
who you said was Evan. You said Justin Long and Barbarian was me, and I was
Yeah,
aghast.
that's right. You're right. For some reason, it didn't hit me in
Yeah.
the substance, but you are right.
I want to say for that character too. Like I feel like there was like a fairly straightforward joke, which I thought was funny though. Of like again when Sue's like building the secret back room, and the guy's like, "What are you doing in there?" And then he finds out that she's attractive, and then he's like, "I can help you with the home renovation
I got my
project."
tools.
I feel like the way that was played. I feel like that like the joke there is like it's like pretty straightforward, but like again it was like just like so like perfectly over the top. Yeah, it's.
But dude, I gotta say, I mean, I like that actor. Like, what's her name? Margaret Qualley or whatever. But like, and I'm not just saying this to be Adam Higgins contrarian. I would prefer Demi Moore.
Sure.
Is all.
That's the thing. It is a common misconception that when I hyperfixate on, let's say Charlie XCX or Margaret Qualley, that it's because I'm like jacking off thinking about them. I actually think that they are talented. They are both attractive and talented.
Well, so I feel that
worthless attractive people that I'm not as into. It's when they're talented and attractive. That's what celebrities are supposed to be.
Well, I feel like the two actresses that fit that description for me are Tilda Swinton and what's her name from Hereditary, Toni Collette.
Oh, sure, Toni Collette for sure.
Fantastic talent, but not very attractive to me. Not that matters, because who cares?
Hey, come on. We're all guys here. Who do you think? Toni Collette versus Tilda Swinton. Who's more attractive? I have a definitive answer for myself, but you can always think about it.
I would probably say Tilda Swinton.
I think in general, I like that Tilda Swinton has like a super intense, weird, angular face and all that, but she's too skinny. She's a fucking bag of bones.
Well, none of these women are doing right by us. They need to get their bodies and their faces and their makeup.
Here's the thing. True story. Another thing I didn't notice until someone else on Letterboxd pointed it out, and this is embarrassing. This shows that I'm not as like jacking off about Margaret Qualley as I should be. She's wearing like fake breasts and a fake ass the whole movie. Those like aren't even her real breasts and buttocks. And once someone I like again looked it up, and like she's naked in tons of movies. This is extremely fact checkable. This is objectively true.
Yes.
Which makes sense. In the world of the movie, it makes sense that they would make her like even more like ridiculously voluptuous. She's kind of not. She's not like.
That's the difference between having this movie made today versus 20 years ago, is that I could not tell those were prosthetics or enhanced images. I thought it was just because, and to me, like it wasn't, her body looked good, but like wasn't that great,
What else was I gonna say?
Yeah, the substance is a slam dunk. There's not
slam dunk, home run, touchdown, goal,
bullseye.
Yeah.
Here's what I was gonna say. When Mike was saying how like the movie has phases, and you're like, oh, clearly we've entered the final phase of the movie. Like when she's a goblin person, you're like, oh shit, this got pretty fucking crazy. I already was like, this is a great movie. I had a fucking blast with this movie. This movie nailed it. And that's like Mike was saying, it has a whole other gear to shift into when I'm already ready to like give it a standing ovation. And then it's like, we're not done here yet. Like I'm like, yeah, great movie. Everybody got to see that movie. And then it has the whole ending. And this is why like when people are like, movies shouldn't be that long. I'm like, you can be that long if that's what you're doing at the end. Like, because at a certain point I was like, wow, this movie's long, and it seems like a pretty straightforward, like from the preview thing, where you're like, oh no, they're gonna make it worth your wait to have it be over 2 hours or whatever, because it's just gonna fucking keep going and going, like the fucking Energizer Bunny at the end.
Right. Yeah. And then the way that like everything about like where the entire crowd gets like sprayed with blood, just and like what like her head like gets like bludgeoned off, and then like it grows back. I mean, and like again, like the thing of like her showing up, and she had like the portrait of her head like glued to her face going back. I mean, like everything about that is.
Oh, here's what that reminded me of. That reminded me of one of the only really good Human Giant skits. Did you guys ever watch Human Giant, the sketch show with Aziz Ansari? There's one where they're trying to sneak into a celebrity event, and the idea is they're just like loser guys, and they're like, well, maybe if we like dress up like celebrities, but they don't have anything. But then they have like a magazine that has like photos of the Olsen twins, and they just cut out a full page photo of the Olsen twins and like tape it on their face, and they're like goofing like maybe this will work. And the joke is like, not only does it work, but then they get in the party and Will Arnett is there. And Will Arnett not only completely believes it's the Olsen twins, but is like desperately trying to have sex with them. So it's like Will Arnett like really hornily hitting on like Aziz Ansari wearing like a cutout Olsen twin mask. That's what her putting her own mask on made me think.
Yeah, but because I think in the movie, like when she showed up at like security, they're like, oh, come on in. Yeah.
And that is the thing I like about the movie. The movie full on is like sketch comedy TV show funny on purpose for a lot of it. Which, you know, I think it is hard for a movie that nasty to successfully be that comedic. And that movie excels in both regards, for sure. And I think a lot of movies try to be like a horror comedy, but it like usually is really like dorky, or it's fucking like Terrifier or whatever, and you're like, this isn't really funny. But Substance totally like has set up, punchline, nail it comedy just as good as like the gore stuff.
I thought I noticed a lot of people were laughing at Megalopolis.
Yeah, and I will say the funny thing is that because like the movie, there's so much shit like at the fucking almost sold out IMAX, which is only losers like me going opening night, laughing for most of the movie, and then it's so funny that then he dedicates it to his dead wife, and people went from literally uproariously laughing at the baby last shot to then like zipping the lip and be like,
yes,
like we've just laughed at this for 3 hours. No, it's your dead wife.
That was the funniest part when you saw that dedication. Like, of course, you know, we live in Tim Heidecker's fantasy.
Yeah, like I said, like I read in the text, Jane, both Megalopolis and The Substance have like Tim and Eric stuff going on. Specifically, like Tim and Eric bedtime stories type stuff going on.
Yeah,
which is great. I love that stuff.
Hey, what did we think about the cartoon to start Joker 2?
Oh my god.
the best part of the movie.
I mean, I guess by default, I would agree.
Yeah.
I forgot about it. I literally forgot about it until you mentioned
I did too, but I remember seeing it in the theater and thinking this might be the best part of this movie, and that turned out to be right.
I need to actually to talk about Joker 2, just like have a bit of a sports thing. Is I think Evan, I think that you'll understand and appreciate this. Is so you know how the Brewers lost to the Mets in the playoffs. You know the whole sequence there and whatnot. So basically, like that game ends, and then like 15 minutes later, I'm walking to the theater to watch Joker 2.
Oh man!
So that was so I was and I'll just say again, like Joker 2 like didn't exactly like lift my mood after
you just kicking Mike while he was down.
Yeah,
and he only had to do that because I demanded we go on opening night.
Yeah.
That's funny. Have you guys ever seen The Road to Wellville? I'm sure Adam has. The Road to
I actually
Wellville.
haven't. I know the preview, but I've never seen it.
I would like to say if I could suggest a podcast film, I would like to do The Road to Wellville.
Yeah, no, I've always wanted to see it because the preview looks good. It's kind of fucked up. I never watched it, but I would totally do that.
It's got a little bit of this kind of like absurd surrealist Tim and Eric, you know, not body horror, but biological horror, you know. And it's funny. I think we should do it and just see what happens.
So Powder,
Yeah.
Road to Wellville.
Powder
Well,
is
so Powder. So I don't know if we need to.
Did you know that guy was a child molester?
I did not. I had no idea about.
Well, now we
that.
got to do
Yeah.
it, especially if you did.
Well,
Because I'll tell you what, that movie, I have watched that movie several times. When you know that guy is a child molester who just got out of jail for molesting kids, there's a lot of subtext in that movie that's like totally about that, and it's really insane that he managed to get the Disney Corporation to bankroll a movie where he's kind of soft, being like, well, you know, you got to understand where I'm coming from. It's like, man, when you touch kids, it's magic.
Yeah, no, the reason like my thought process behind like Powder is like that's a movie which I've never seen it, and I like distinctively remember seeing like previews of it. And I remember that like it was a movie that like people knew about. Mm-hmm. So even like 5-10 years later, like you were talking about like Powder, people would be like, "Oh, I know the movie you're talking about." But it's a type of movie which I just kind of be interested in with now that I'm middle age. that if I were to talk to like Gen Z or a Zoomer or like whatever, and be like, "Hey, Powder," like they're gonna have no idea what you're talking about. I bet a lot of millennials are like,
And it would look fake. If
Yeah.
you made them watch the preview,
Yeah.
they'd be like, "What
Yeah.
is this, like
But
a
yeah.
comedy show?"
yeah, yeah, but like
Really
those types of
fucking-
movies, which were like that had some cultural impact and like relevance, in the sense like people knew about them, that are just like completely gone. I would say, and like mostly like mid-budget, like 1990s movies.
Road to Wellville.
Yeah.
Like, exactly. fits
Well,
this-
that would be another example. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah. So that, yeah, I, mean, I think maybe that would be the one to.
That's
one-
an interesting thing to write a thesis on. Why? Okay, so Powder and the Road to Wellville, nobody knows. They're gone.
Yeah.
Newer generations never heard. Fifth Element came out same year, and it's still a cult classic,
I would say, in many ways, The Fifth Element is
deserving of that.
exceptional movie.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, I would. Well, see, I would say that if you, sorry for jumping in. I'm just going to tie it with Megalopolis. I feel like The Fifth Element is kind of like a grandiose, ambitious movie, which I think is more.
Yeah, it is about like the power of what's going to save the world.
But
But
that
it
movie-
is The Fifth Element and Interstellar have the same idea, which is a clear idea, which is the power of love is going to save the world. I don't even think Megalopolis has that. Megalopolis is like you just trust geniuses and they'll fix it. I don't know what they're going to do, but they're going to do something. Whereas like Fifth Element, Interstellar, big idea movies where the idea is crystal clear.
Well, and
there was a series on Netflix that I thought accomplished what Megalopolis was trying to do much more effectively, and I can't remember the goddamn name of it.
Oh, I think it was The Mandalorian.
yeah, no, I mean,
It was even better than that, if you can believe it.
no,
But before we go on to another thing, I want to say that if you guys have never seen it, one of the best executed random people making a joke video on YouTube ever. Some people made a fake preview for Powder 2. If you just look the Powder 2 trailer, some random dudes just on a goof made an extremely hilarious fake Powder 2 trailer. That if you haven't seen Powder, don't watch it. If Evan, I know you've seen Powder. Do you know what I'm talking about? The Powder 2 trailer?
Carbon is what it's called.
What's the
it called?
show?
The
Yeah.
show that I was referencing earlier. No, yeah, I'm not talking about your Powder 2 thing.
but
Do you know? Have you ever watched it? Because I know you've seen Powder. This would have been like on a Penis Boys email 20
I
years
haven't.
ago.
I don't remember.
But Evan, you were talking about that. We were talking about like Road to Wellville, talking about Powder, and then you were talking about like, well, like The Fifth Element is kind of in that genre. Why did that continue? I think that you're going to say something, and then I jumped in because I was going to say that too. Like with The Fifth Element, I feel like part of it helps it out too, because I feel like the distinctiveness of like Mila Jovovich's character, I feel is part of it, and also
I would say the character Powder is a pretty distinctive character, and like Mila Jovovich, has a very iconic look to it.
Yeah.
Because I think like Road to Wellville does not have any like you see an image of them and you're like that's 100% from this movie, but like Powder does. Powder has an extremely iconic weird character.
I just put the three of them together because they were all fairly successful, if I recall, at the time. People were talking about them and seeing them, and they were showed over and over on HBO. And Fifth Element stuck. And I think you pointed out that it's just a better movie. But I don't know that I would have said that then. I don't know that I would have said, oh, this is just so much obviously what this is going to be the one in 30 years we're still talking about, and not these other two.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's all I was.
And
Powder for sure was also a big hit. I don't think Road to Wellville was as big. You're right that it played TV a lot, but I don't think it was as big a budget or big a box office hit as Powder or Fifth Element. Powder is probably like in the same ballpark.
well, again, a couple of the hallmarks of this podcast: we talk about running time and talk about box office.
We're into numbers. We're scientists.
Yeah. Evan, I want to say ask a question for you, Evan. Like just being in academics and everything, is I feel like the question of like I feel like there is an interesting question about like why do some movies like The Truman Show people reference that people are familiar with it, where again like Road to Wellness, people
My friend made this for me.
yeah.
Sorry.
Like what other movies I kind of get lost of time. I feel like that would be like an interesting question, an interesting thing to study. But I feel like if you're to be like, okay, Mike, time for you to actually study this, I feel like that would be a very agonizing thing to do because then you actually have to like put
in
the work
terms
in.
of why it persists, I don't. But there isn't really like a clear cut. You could be like, oh, people weren't Google searching it these years, but like, why? Who fucking knows?
Yeah.
I think it is there. It's hard to have a definitive answer.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, an example of this that I came up on with a guy I worked with who was 21 or 22 at the time, which was last year, is I quoted Austin Powers, and he didn't know what I was talking about. And I was like, oh, well, I guess that's just like a generational thing or whatever, you know, like you weren't born when that movie came out or whatever. But then, like, I would quote like Jurassic Park or all this other stuff, and he would know it. And I'd be like, so you've seen that? He'd be like, oh, absolutely. I'd be like, you got to at least, and like, not that he would have seen Austin Powers. He didn't even know who Austin Powers was, didn't know who Fat Bastard was, didn't know any of it. But like, he did know plenty of other movies from that era. So why didn't Austin Powers? He's like, Austin Powers. I was like, when? I was like, how old were you when you saw Jurassic Park? And he's like, I don't know, like 8 or 9. I was like, 8 or 9 is the better age to see Austin Powers than Jurassic Park.
I'm trying to think of the movies that were like that for us when we were that age, that were older, but we still. And for me, it was like the big one that comes to mind is The Christmas Story. So like A Christmas Story came out in the early '80s, and we watched it religiously and loved it. And it wasn't a sort of retro nostalgia thing. It was just like, this is just a good movie. And I think that's how Jurassic Park is now. Star Wars.
That I think there is. I think you already hit on a major thing for people like us is if it played on TV, we fucking saw it. In a post TV is how people watch things world, that becomes less explicable. And I also think specifically anything that was a hit and was related to any specific holiday gets on TV more than any other movie. Because they're like, well, what are we going to play for the holidays? Oh, that holiday movie was big. We'll play that forever. People know It's a Wonderful Life. Name a second movie from the 1940s if you're a normal person besides It's a Wonderful Life. They don't even fucking know. That's what I like to think about. I probably brought it up before.
A Matter of Life and Death.
Oh, but you're not a normal person. But I like to think about like with this entire at a certain point, only one movie is remembered for a whole decade. To try and guess like in 2090 what the one movie people will remember, probably Jurassic Park. Because like like Wizard of Oz. Name a second movie from the 1930s. Yes, Mike.
I want to just talk about like the Austin Powers and Jurassic Park portions. I feel like what Jurassic Park has going for it, I mean, outside of just being like amazing, is that dinosaurs. Like, I think dinosaurs are things that like people think are pretty cool. And with Austin Powers, I think part of the challenge is too, I think this kind of gets into a generational thing, is like Austin Powers is making fun of like 1960s, 1970s like British spy movies. But the thing,
we didn't know that.
I loved it. Well, that's the thing though. That's the thing. Like I think that we didn't know that, but I think that we were close enough to the generation that did knew about it, that like we at least had some sort of like familiarity with it, where it's like, I'd be watching TV with my dad and I would see like 8 minutes of like Dr. No, so I at least had like some point of reference with Austin Powers, where it's just like I am generally familiar with what you're talking about. I feel like if you were born like 2005, there's a good chance that you don't have any of that like primer with like kind of like the Sean Connery, Roger Moore, James Bond movies. So like you're not even gonna get the joke. It just kind of like bounce around a little bit. I think about like The Simpsons with like the musical for the Planet of the Apes.
Sure.
I feel like getting classic, one of the most iconic like Simpsons things. I feel like if you're like born 2005, 2010, you're gonna watch that. Like it's just like
you're gonna be like, who's Dr. Z?
Yeah, right. It's just not going to do it. So anyway, that's my 2 cents there. But I think it's an interesting question. I feel like though, again, tying it back to movies here, like what are we gonna be talking about in 10 years? I feel like the substance is gonna be one 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. Gonna stay.
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
No, I think there's just I think it's going to get lost. It's going to get buried. There's just too much content now.
I agree with Evan, but I think part of why that, although I love it and think it's a great movie and begged everyone to go see it, I think it is deliberately and by its own choice very much a part of a established genre of movie. It is doing a great job at it. But it's not even seeking to be like an innovative, novel thing that's gonna like have its own distinct cultural impact. It's like, hey, remember when like movies used to be this fucking gross and crazy, and we're gonna be funny too. It's like, hey, do you remember like Brian Yuzna movies? And most people are like, no, but like we love it anyway. But like, I think that something like Megalopolis that makes no fucking sense, and people are like, can you fucking believe that? That will be remembered more, even if you didn't see it. For like, can you believe that fucking shit happened? Joker 2, below all of them. And people will be like, they made a sequel to Joker? People won't even remember that movie got a sequel in 20 years.
I didn't even think, what the fuck did we need a 19th Joker for? You know what I mean? Like, what? This is what I was talking about on the phone. Like, why did we have to? I'm so mad that we did that.
You were right. However, you watched The Mandalorian. That's the 500 billion Star Wars bullshit.
Yeah, I don't think of it as quite the same, because the Joker, they're redoing an exact same character. But the Mandalorian's a totally different story. It's just the same.
Oh yeah, you're right. Boba Fett.
I think you are making me think of something like with the Joaquin Phoenix like Joker character, and like, because you think about and you're gonna be way more familiar than like Batman than I am, but like I view like kind of the Joker character as like a hyper competent 8-dimensional chess agent of chaos. Absolutely. Who's just like very charismatic and articulate, and just like has this like crazy master plan, and has thought 100 moves ahead. And like the Joaquin Phoenix Joker, it's like that is not that as well, and it's like not the character that you're going to like can really build a franchise around, because like with the Joker from like other Batman movies, it's like, okay, well, like what situations are they going to get into next? And it's not like and they like the Joaquin Phoenix one is not going to not going to be like planning plots that they're going to be blown up.
I mean, yeah. So he did. So we ain't getting no more.
Yeah.
Spoilers for Joker 2.
Yeah. Well,
but also like what you're describing is for sure Todd Phillips attempting to be subversive, but he's fucking full on traumatic head injury retarded. So he like doesn't even understand why or what he's doing, besides being like, well, what if it was the other way? And everyone's like, yeah, we don't like that.
Right. It's like, oh, let's have it. Okay, let's do let's do Superman, except he's actually disabled. And he can't really.
By the way, where do I sign? Where's you have a Patreon?
Well, I know, sadly, that is what happened to Superman, is that he.
No, but like, there's no movie. Like, imagine if they were like, we don't care that he's in a wheelchair. He's still fucking Superman. He's gonna fly in that wheelchair, baby.
But yeah, the definition. I mean, those characters are beloved because they're exceptional and they're charismatic. And so this idea that, well, we're going to make one that's just kind of a hapless piece of shit,
But that's what the weirdest part to me. Like, they kill him at the end. Clearly, they don't want to even make the sequel. Clearly, they were like, well, whatever, we'll make the sequel. We hate you for watching it. Fuck you. But then they still set up Two-Face. Why the fuck did you set up Two-Face if you're killing the Joker in a movie you didn't even want to make?
And can I say,
really not been.
Yes, you can, Mike. It's your podcast. Say whatever you want.
I don't remember the Two-Face. Anyway, go ahead, Mike.
I was going to say the Two-Face part is I feel like his face wasn't that like mangled. And maybe it's
no, but they made a point to show
they
them.
Did.
My face.
Yeah, they did.
I'm Harvey Dent, and my face is injured.
Yeah, and maybe it's because my point of reference is Aaron Eckhart's.
He's the DA. Harvey Dent is the DA.
Right, now I remember, but I must have been taking a leak when they.
It was when the building blows up. When they blow up the building, there's a shot of him going, "Oh, my face is fucked up. Did I mention I'm Harvey Dent?"
I don't know that means they're trying to set up a sequel, though.
But like, why do it if not
reference the story? Just like they put Bruce Wayne in the first one. They put little Bruce Wayne in the first.
But that's like the closest the first one has to any interesting idea.
Right.
Is the Joker's the new contextualized version of the Joker's hypothetical relationship with the Wayne family is the closest to anything interesting, which they immediately abandons and does nothing.
I agree, but I'm also saying like they didn't do that in order to weave that into the plot of the next movie.
No, but that's what I'm saying. That clearly has like a substantive new, just like the Joker is a subversive, annoying, sucky version of the Joker. You're like, well, what if like this is the Joker's relationship with Batman? You're like, oh wow, that is actually, this is the same fucking shit as ever with Two-Face, and they barely do it, and it like you could miss it. They so barely do it that it's possible to miss it, and they're clearly not setting up another one. If they did another one, God, please just have a Lady Gaga Harley Quinn movie and let fucking anyone else do it. Let a French pervert make a Lady Gaga Harley Quinn movie without Todd Phillips or Joaquin Phoenix, and I'll be there again. It's only 3 times.
We need a big ass. We need a big fat ass on that Harley Quinn. Listen, I want to ask a question. This is maybe the most obvious elephant in the room thing, and I could be senile Ahab in even asking it, but like, why? I don't remember there being the first one being a fucking musical. Like,
No,
why? Why?
That is one of several things that I am just has to be deliberate. Not what because like clearly the whole movie is about like, well, you guys did what you liked about the first one was wrong. It's like, because if you're a kind of the hypothetical incel dude that was going to shoot up a theater when the first one came out, a musical is going to be your least favorite shit in the world. That's one of many things that's him being like, well, but like, what if it's the opposite? Because I don't want to be associated with losers, so fuck you guys. But I'm like, that sounds great. A Lady Gaga musical, incredible. I'm there.
But Joaquin Phoenix doesn't sing.
Nope. And that's another funny thing. The musicals is as close as it gets to being anything I was entertained by. But like even in like the one that does get good, every single one starts like the iconic movie trailer minor key version of a popular song where there's like one piano note and then someone's like slightly off key, like like they all start like that, and then eventually they turn into a normal cover of the song. But like every single one starts, and everyone knows that's a punchline everyone's been sick of forever, and like you're gonna have it be in your actual movie. It's not even like the trailer thing to have like a million songs start with like one lonely piano note, and it's like like a whispery minor key version of a pop song.
It's you're giving me you're activating my PTSD or whatever. It was, yeah, fucking horrendous.
Did you guys see House of Gucci? That's probably the best Lady Gaga.
Yeah, I loved it.
I loved it. That's probably my favorite Adam Driver movie, and I hope Lady Gaga goes on to surpass that. But of her theatrically released movies, I would say that's my favorite Lady Gaga movie.
That's why I like her. I saw that movie and I thought, oh, good, yeah, she can do this. And I thought it was a good on the face of it, like good decision to have her cast as this really actually pretty difficult character to play that most people can't do and is a very irritating, fucked up thing. Like, you know, Margot Robbie, I don't really have anything against Margot Robbie, but like her Harley Quinn to me is very annoying.
Yeah, and Margot Robbie's trash. Margot Robbie's a bad actor. Margot Robbie isn't attractive. Margot Robbie doesn't make any fucking sense as Harley Quinn. I told Evan this on the phone. Lady Gaga has been auditioning to be Harley Quinn her whole life. Goth clown girl? That's like basically like half of her music videos. The only one who would have been better, and I've said this many times, is Brittany Murphy. If there'd been a third Joel Schumacher Batman and Brittany Murphy was still alive, Brittany Murphy would have been the best Harley Quinn ever. But since
I got a question for the group.
I'm ready.
This is similar to when, you know, in 20 years ago when Mike asked me if I'd rather sit through an hour of Pee Wee hockey or an hour of AC/DC instrumental. Would you rather
easy.
Would you rather rewatch Joker 2 or Birds of Prey?
Birds of Prey. I have rewatched Birds of Prey.
I find that to be a little bit more difficult.
Number one, it's almost half the runtime and has more stuff going on and more attractive women and more embarrassing song choices.
Good point about the runtime. So to do it in true Mike fashion, you get to watch an hour of each. So
still Birds of Prey. Any random minute of Birds of Prey is better than any entire minute of Joker 2.
I walked out of that shit.
I also think it's bad. I thought that it made me angry it was so bad, but at least stuff happens in it.
Every time she'd say Mr. J, I'd just be like, dude.
Yeah, no, she's horrible. She's horrible in everything. She was the worst part about Once Upon a Time. She's the worst thing in everything. And also, it's so funny. Other people besides me have routinely made fun of how like she loves to like do an accent playing an American, it's always the same fucking accent. Whether she's supposed to be in 1930s Hollywood or Harley Quinn, she's like, I'm American. I'm from the Bronx. We're like, fucking Nicole Sullivan on Mad TV could do better accents than Margot Robbie, an ostensibly Academy Award nominated actress.
Mike.
I've not seen Birds of Prey, so I don't have much to
There you go.
add to this. I think you know, to get to the essence of your question is that, I mean, so like 1 hour of Megalopolis versus 1 hour of Joker 2, it's definitely me like Megalopolis. I mean, it would be I'm trying to think of something where I would select Joker 2 over. I mean, again, like Baby's Day Out. I mean,
I would choose it over getting circumcised.
Yeah, Baby's Day Out. Like
Circumcised is a beautiful ritual.
Yeah.
That has been passed down from generation.
Evan's like, I get circumcised twice.
I loved it so much. I got it twice.
I'm gonna my Mad TV parody of The Substance is it's The Substance for guys, but it's a circumcision thing. You have to like pass your duplicate out of your penis foreskin. And
no,
like
substance makes your foreskin grow back, right? So it's like it's for like it's for remorseful, regretful guys with no foreskin.
yeah,
Like,
you have to like
God, if only I had that fucking flap of haunch of skin hanging off, dripping with shit.
But then it's like the end of the movie is like bulbous and full of black bile.
Let me get this strip of bacon hanging off my dong and put a little schmeck.
Bacon.
I'm gonna wrap my dog in bacon and dip it in cheddar gunk.
It's called a Seattle dog. I also was very excited for my former coworker who moved out here to discover Seattle dogs, which I forgot was a thing.
The schmegma dog. Yeah, they're good.
They are, yeah, they are good. Get some onions in there, get a nice toasted bun, and you're in flavor country. I have pretty long about one of those.
Well, I thought they put cream cheese in there.
They do, yeah. So you get the cream cheese, onions, yeah. It's all that. So listen, I want all that. I'm gonna say, cause I think we're getting to the present time of this where we should wrap it up. Wrap things up.
I love that we hit our classic refrain of foreskin versus knob.
You know, everyone has their niche. That's my niche. I've accepted it.
That's our bread and butter, baby.
I curl up in my foreskin. That's where I emerge from and return to. It's my womb away from my womb.
Been doing it. Our whole career is built.
It's our who's on first.
Right. We used to sit in
the recognition applause when we started. People just talk about dicks and people like
sat in the dorm. We would talk about this for hours.
Yeah, we still haven't resolved it. Or you know what it's like? What's the famous evolution debate? Who are the two people? It's like Deakins and the other guy. You know what I'm talking about? Who's the other guy?
Dawkins and
yeah, I don't know who's debating against though.
Wasn't there a famous evolution debate?
I think there was, but I don't know who they would have been debating though.
I don't know. I'm too stupid to know about
anyway,
that.
It's like that. It's historic and people will read about it in school books, is what I was trying to say.
In science books.
Yeah.
For decades, the jury was out on
because you know what? We're again living Adam Driver's advocated point in Megalopolis. We're just having a debate. The debate never ends. The important thing is we have the debate.
Do you think
It's important that we have an answer. It's important to have the debate.
Do you think Adam Driver is circumcised? I don't think he is.
What
But I think that probably Shia LaBeouf is. Actually, no, you look at him, you can kind of tell he's
overcompensating for it. That's why he's such a good actor.
Because he's overcompensated for his lack of, or the fact that he has
lack of.
I see. Okay.
Because you never have to overcompensate for having one. You could always get circumcised.
I'm glad you caught yourself there. Yeah. See, from my perspective, you'd have to overcompensate for having it.
Right? But you could always just get it off. I could get it off at any time. If you convince me, if you ever actually convince me, I could be like, you're right, Evan, and I could go get it off tomorrow.
It's not exactly an easy, I'm
going to be like in hospice on my deathbed, and they'll be like, is there anything we could do for you? I'll be like, I'm ready. Circumcise me. And then it's like, as soon as the last piece gets separated, it's like, beep. And they're like, he finally could die in comfort because he was circumcised. He couldn't let himself go. His foreskin held him tied to the world. In order for his soul to be free to the heavens, he needed to
And
release
then-
himself from the
And
force.
then so they take it off and you die, and then they pan to the next scene, which is me on my deathbed. And they're like, do you have any last wishes? It's like, I just want a foreskin. So they sew your
Yeah.
they sew
It's
you.
face off. It's penis face off. We're gonna take his foreskin off.
It doesn't fit. And then we both die. And then Mike inherits all of our wealth.
Yeah. And Mike wears them like rings on his large hands, which is an inside joke. People that didn't hear the pre-recorded part of the podcast. I forgot at the top of the podcast, I want to say that on my walk over here. Another thing I love about taking public transportation is I make a lot of jokes in my brain when I'm walking that I never do when I'm driving. Because when you're driving, I'm too distracted. And my joke that was a lot of my jokes in my brain when I'm walking have to do with the rhythm of my walking, reminding me of songs, and then I'm making up lyrics to songs that my rhythm of my walking does. And as I was walking, I was thinking of the Charlie XCX song Club Classics, which if you don't know, I'll sing the hook. The hook is, when I'm in the club, I want to hear this Club Classics, Club Classics. And I was like, it's kind of funny that the way they break the song, she has to repeat club, which, it's kind of like a sampler thing. But I was thinking in my head, because the only way to do this, I was thinking of a was, when I'm in the club, I want to hear a movie podcast. Movie podcast. I like the idea of Charlie in a club being like, put on a fucking movie podcast. I'm like, what one? And she's like, movie podcast.
And
And the crowd's like,
and then they just play this for the next 2 hours.
and people go fucking ape shit. I want to hear a movie podcast.
As always,
movie podcast.
As always, I'm interested to hear what the AI meeting readout is going to be here.
It's going to be good.
Yeah, can AI please make a fake version of Club Classics about Mike's movie podcast for our new theme song?
I just want to see how it narrates our idea of the story of when you and I die. And we get
I think it's pretty good. That's pretty straight. That's way more straightforward than Megalopolis.
True. Yeah. Come on. It's a simple idea, folks.
It's cut and dried.
Cut and dry, babies. Cut it, dry it, sew it on, whatever. This has been a 2-hour and
We did it.
Yeah, it's been a 2-hour production.
I didn't think we could do it, but we did it.
I'm going to say the substance, this many cheeseburgers, 4.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, four cheeseburgers with what's one of the gross foods with cum on it, with shrimp and cum. Yeah, I think we did a good job.
Do we want to decide what we're going to do next time? I like to try and make us commit at the end.
I think the wellness one, what was that called?
You want to ditch powder? You're trying to be scared of powder now?
Oh, let's do powder. I like powder. I like that.
You've never seen powder. If you haven't seen powder, we should do powder. And it'll be really good because I think it's good when we watch movies where one of us hasn't seen it. I think it's a good mix to have some people that have had it be a continuous part of their life and someone that's new to it with a fresh perspective. But I would say Powder, Road to Wellville, we'll see if we're sick of the theme of forgotten 90s cultural movies that younger people don't remember. But I'm also into that as a theme. And I think that's a great start. We can figure out the rest later.
All right. So it looks like we have ourselves a plan here. Well, as always, thank you for listening to this podcast, everybody. Hope that you enjoyed it. Take care of yourselves.
And if you can, someone else too. It's so fucking hard to turn the shit off. It's actually not easy to stop the recording.
Eventually, it's just going to go forever, and you'll just figure out which part of the infinite recording you want to watch.
Stop.
Computer, deactivate.
Damn it. No.
Now you're just hamming it up.
No, I'm not. I really don't know how to
Just
stop.
every time. What, did they change the interface?
No.
Wow.
There's no fucking.
This is like Joker 2.
Yeah. So what would you rather do? So would you rather watch Joker 2 or
let Evan figure out how to end the podcast?
Yeah.
There's no way to stop it. It doesn't want you to stop it because then it gets less data.
But I mean, it has to have an endpoint.
You can't.
I just don't get And like, has it literally changed since the last time you used it?
It's changed since earlier today. Come on, man. How do I do it? Oh, wow. I have the whole live feed here too.
Oh, yeah. Because like on our screen, there's like a record button. What
All
does
right.
yours have where the record button is?
I'm pretty sure no, it's still.
You didn't say anything. Yeah, now we're gonna start.
Yeah,
recording.
right, yeah.
No, I got
Now
it.
I'm gonna join the Zoom on my phone from the same room, which is another bit I would have done if we weren't short on time.
Stop recording. Generate report.